Okay, it is Tuesday, December 1st, 2020. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning unborn.
Minutes and reports received and filed.
No, we didn't have any.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
We have a Cole County Hazard Mitigation Planning meeting tomorrow, 10 to noon scheduled. Cole County Extension meeting Thursday, Eastside Business Association virtual meeting Friday morning. And it's December. Hey, wait, it's playoff weekend, isn't it? Elias and Blair Oaks, both in
Yeah.
state championships, so.
Yeah, at Atkins
Got 2
Stadium.
games to go to. I don't know how many tickets are doing for all that, but if not, you can get it on the MHSAA site. It's like $10, same price you'd pay for going to game, so it works pretty decent. That's all I got.
Like always, announcers from out of town.
We had,
On that.
oh, well, we had ours, we're local. We had, Dick Aldrich was doing it
Yeah, this last
Yeah.
in
one,
the feed
right?
for the Blair Oaks one, so. But Elias had a better video. They had the clock and score and everything on there, so I don't know who decides that.
One thing I got is a student meeting, I think Wednesday.
I have Friday morning at 9 a.m. The Lions Club's ringing the bell, so I will be out in front of Central Bank. So anybody that wants, budget and anything, I will take
Coordinated.
big bills in the Salvation Army. Saturday at 1 o'clock, we're doing a Toys for Tots presentation. Brian and his hooligan not-for-profit motorcycle club have bought bicycles for our Toys for Tots, and then EMS is going to bring their box too. So, and then at 4:30 is the Christmas break. So that's all I've got. Any commission comments? Nope. We're gonna go do resolutions and then get you guys out of here, and then we're gonna talk to Carrie for a minute, or she's gonna talk to us. Cliff, Joyce?
Do one at a time.
Yep, we are. We're gonna do Cliff first, since, well, we ought to do Joyce first. Come on, come on up here. Beauty before. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Whereas in June 1987, Joyce Hickok began her career working for the Cole County Public Works Department, and whereas Joyce has worked tirelessly at the Public Works Department for numerous directors, including Mark Thornsberry, Ed Rackers, Chris Yarnell, Larry Benz, and presently Eric Landwehr, and whereas during retirement, Joyce plans to spend more time with family, doing home improvements, traveling, and minimalizing. Now therefore be it resolved that the people of Cole County do hereby thank and commend Joyce Hickok for her years of faithful service and loyalty to the county. We also wish her the very best in retirement and many enjoyable years ahead, as we will truly miss her, and we mean that.
And we still have you on speed dial, so don't think you can get away, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And we even got, look at this, look at this. Final Amigo retires. Yeah.
Cartoon section here. Come on,
Okay,
Charlie
come on
Brown.
up here. See, she's got you beat by a year. Whereas in May 1988, Cliff Lepper began his career working for Cole County Public Works Department. She started in '87. Whereas Cliff has worked tirelessly in the Road and Bridge Department for numerous directors, including the ones we mentioned. Nice wife. Whereas during retirement, Cliff plans to spend lots of time with his grandkids, taking them fishing and hunting. He would also like to travel with his wife, hoping to visit all 50 states. And now therefore be it resolved that the people of Cole County do hereby thank and commend Cliff Lepper for his years of faithful service and loyalty to the county. We also wish him the very best in retirement and many enjoyable years ahead, as we will truly miss him. And that, we mean that. You get this too.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Merry Christmas, yeah.
Don't miss you guys.
Oh,
We know how to find
you
you.
know where I'm at, coming after me.
You might regret saying.
Nah, it'll be all right.
Okay, Carrie, 1 minute.
1 minute.
I got my,
Hey, why is his picture being shoved around
Well, since Sheriff is not here, I thought I would be nice and come around and do some collecting, because tomorrow we are doing the Special Olympics Power Hour Polar Plunge, 4th annual. So
That's for
what
John?
I might say,
No,
in
no,
John's bucket.
no.
I might have the mayor's bucket too.
No.
So we do have a little city and county, but John's not here, so
here?
We locked him up. He's,
I'll pass around Sheriff's bucket. I'll
Say
be
sheriff's budget, he'll be here.
So each plunger is tasked to raise $1,000, and all of the money goes to Special Olympics. So if you wanted to give to Sheriff, we're all gonna be winners, but there is a competition going on here, so.
So how
No
are you-
pressure, and we will put it in Sheriff's bucket, even though he's not here.
and how are y'all doing that this year then?
We are doing it virtual this year, so people can
So you're diving
watch.
in somewhere else and,
We are at an
Okay.
undisclosed location. We're going to be going through the sprinklers, the hazmat sprinklers
Okay.
again. So I guess Sheriff must be getting ready, getting the water heated up for me.
he's getting his,
Jump in the water.
he's getting his
I mean,
Speedos.
it's really cold this week, so that would be
Yeah.
better.
That's why I thought maybe you all may want to do it.
I mean,
No,
Well, we appreciate it because Special Olympics is a very important cause. Sheriff Wheeler, of course, has it very near and dear to his heart with his daughter as well. So he's a champion for Special Olympics too. So, but I did want to mention, because it is tomorrow, we're going to be fundraising until December 15th. And if you want to watch, you can go on Special Olympics Facebook page and you can watch us run through the freezing cold hazmat sprinklers. And so.
I think he put an extra $1,000 in the,
Oh, even
In the
for me?
budget.
Wow, thank you.
Oh.
they make me look bad. I didn't bring my wallet in. I didn't know we were looking for
you know,
my.
it like,
Hey, John's listening. John needs to come up.
he's
and
gonna
find
write,
me.
he's gonna write a big check. He doesn't carry,
Oh,
he doesn't-
take my wallet with me.
Here, let the minutes show that, no, I'm just joking. Well,
John, if you're listening, you need to come up later and hit me up.
yeah, we'll see. So let it be known that I did get Sheriff's
Okay.
bucket
there's a
around
few
here.
others
So
around, you might.
there's even some more, well, thank you.
Just like church, my God.
More around here. Thank you. I'll be really, yes. Oh, look, politically correct.
Oh, I'm doing that too, me too, yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Oh,
Fair
thank
balance.
you. Wow, you have to be fair.
oh,
Nobody heard.
whoa.
That could cost you on these days.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Balance out there.
Okay. You all are really nice. Thank you so much. I promise I will
You're
be
about to get animal
this
control
bucket,
back.
so.
I don't want to be the dog catcher.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Again, tomorrow night, Wednesday, 5 o'clock, you can tune in on Special Olympics Facebook page and watch us do this, so for entertainment. Unless you all want to jump through it yourself.
No.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks to everybody. Thank
Yep.
you all.
Joyce and Cliff, you're welcome to stay here. We're gonna be here probably till about 4:30 today. So, if, you're welcome to stay if,
We are? You
Yeah.
sure?
or you
I
can,
call
or you
trouble
can,
now.
or you can leave and we won't think any less of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
enjoy your retirement. Appreciate you guys very much.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
You're gonna come help in the snows, right?
You might as well. We're getting ready to talk.
You got your sign made yet?
Yeah, I'm gonna get one.
Let it snow.
You come to my house Friday night for a little while and have adult beverages if
Let
you
it
want
snow and let it snow a lot.
to. You hear that?
Okay.
No beverages, huh?
Yeah, we're
Only,
headed
only during
down
snow
for
events? or
Antlerless
what?
weekend, so we're gonna be out of
No bunch. See you guys.
I'll catch up with you somewhere.
Yeah, we will.
We'll do it when it's a little warmer.
Be glad.
See ya.
See you guys.
Okay, we'll keep
Bye,
moving
Cliff.
ahead.
You.
Do we have bids and contracts?
No,
Unfinished business?
no,
New business, accounts payable review?
there's lots out there to approve.
What are we doing?
Accounts payable,
Accounts payable
Oh,
review.
sorry. Move we approve accounts payable and review.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First reading of budget adjustment number 23.
she signed in the hallway.
Do we need to do anything with that? I know that's been on my desk for,
Oh.
I missed it last week,
I
but
think I signed it already, but
This is $116,770. This is for surplus property and public works due to them selling some equipment. This is the first reading, so it'll be held over for 10 days.
okay. Signing of surplus title.
It is a 2009 Ford truck. I don't know whose it is. Public Works.
Selling
Move we
it?
sign the surplus title.
Are
second.
we selling that truck?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Do we have anything else before we do the budget hearings? Okay. 8:30. God, we're early. Eric Landwehr, Brian Boyce, Public Works, Planning, Parks and Recreation, Animal Control, Sales Tax.
You'll come back at 2 or 3. 2.
Page on there.
We are on page 91 is where their revenue starts.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you want to follow along on the computer, it's Fund 200.
Are you gonna have that up on?
I am.
So,
Joyce, you guys can really leave. I mean,
I think Gary's wanted me to stay.
she offered to stick
Okay.
around.
Oh.
Just for his budget.
Oh.
He got it.
Honestly, Joyce, and I'll commend her for the years that she's been doing this, but she is the bulk of all the budget stuff for us. And thankfully, she's just happened to be here today. I know normally she wouldn't come, Larry Benz would handle this, but with me being new and just a lot of changes going on, I'm glad she's here in case I get stuck. So, appreciate that, Joyce. Commissioners, we got 4 different budgets to go through. We'll start with
Road and Bridge.
Bridge. And I'll probably just highlight the bigger ticket items and any questions that come up as we go through. And I don't think you want me to go through line by line, do you?
just things I think you want to
Change.
change.
Change, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I anticipated. So, there was,
There he is, a little late than never.
Hey, thanks for not giving me any money, guys. I was down there.
I gave you
I
money.
gave
Jerry
you,
put it all in one bucket. She said it was just hers.
See, she's collecting for you, putting it in her own bucket.
That's all right. It's going to a good cause.
so starting off, we, on the revenue or the income side, we have the cart funds, the financial institution tax, motor vehicle, just general property taxes. Those items are just adjusted based on what the actual numbers are year end. So there's some differences there, but it's minor. The cash forward, typically our numbers internal is a little bit different than the auditors. And a little more discussion on that later, but I'll hit on it now. Kristen and I have worked on is any additional funds that we have available, we're gonna put into equipment, which initially we submitted at zero on the expense side of the budget. Copy reimbursement, we had submitted as 500. The auditor put in there as zero. There's a chance we'll have some reimbursements. We got to where we weren't charging for plans. That was the main thing there. And then there's some items with MACTO and APWA that we do internally that we reimburse, but it was recommended just to keep that with zero. So no issues there. One item under surplus property, which would be 46,789. And we're anticipating selling up to about $20,000 worth of equipment. There's a trailer, pickup, and then there's another item estimated at 20,000. We'll sell that on Purple Wave. So we would request to put that in on the backup, correct? So we would request to put that into the budget as an income next year. And then the interest number was slightly different, and again, that's internally what the auditor works with, so no issues with that. Going to the expenditure side. We've worked with you on our salaries. We have promoted or hired new people this year, and that's adjusted, will adjust our year-end amount total for the year. And then we have some adjustments we want to make next year, and we've been working with the auditor on that as well. So her number initially differed from ours. We originally submitted what we projected our current people employed would be back in August, and just went with that number. But we know that number will change slightly, and working with Kristen on those changes. Our part-time didn't change, but just a minor amount. However, there's one changing around some line items in that. Kristen asked that we put part-time, the parks employee, our expense out of that. That gets reimbursed, but we need to show that as an expense in our part-time rather than just summertime employees. So that's changed to 10,500. And then just the part-time summer employees, brought that number down. Social Security, loggers, health, dental, workers' comp, those are all items adjusted with the salaries. Going to software, 5490.1.004.
Page 93.
With the addition of Cartograph this year and next, we will have to make adjustments in our budget for both.
Do you have that dollar amount for next year?
Yes, it's, yeah. 22,000, I believe, 167 would be the yearly cost that we'll have to pay this year minus a month of that. So roughly, you had a,
Have it written down for 20,311.
yeah.
That
We'll
should
have-
be this year, and then the whole 22 would be next year, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna need to add 22 to that 11. 592,
Yes.
that's what I'm seeing there.
Yep.
So we'll add, and I would ask that we add a little bit more because part of what we did with Cartograph with purchasing the iPads, we have to have a subscription for Office 365. And that was included with the CARES funds for this year, so it won't be any addition for this year. But for next year, we'll have to add in 1,156. And then assuming that maybe there's some additional percent increases over the course of the year, I would probably use a number of 25,000 for that. So that'll change.
25 additional.
25 additional. In the
So-
software line item.
The Cartograph, and what was the other one?
Office 365 subscriptions for the iPads that we'll use for that. And again, I mentioned earlier with the carry forward, that number will change accordingly, so. Of what we have to spend this year, the 20,000 number that Debbie mentioned.
I think that's 36,592. Roughly what you're talking about.
Yes. And we'll be learning how the ins and outs of Cartograph and how that will impact us. And we expect a lot of good things it's going to do for us, but it is an expense we'll have to account for each year. And so we need to account for it in this year's budget, or next year's budget that we're talking about right now. Then going down to heavy equipment, we originally submitted 0, just because we didn't have the funds initially estimated. In working with the auditor on this, any additional carry forward numbers that we come up with at the end of the year, we will put into heavy equipment. And I gave you a printout of proposed items. Now, some of these are assumed in the sales tax, a tandem axle dump truck and a 550. However, what we submitted, and I'll get to it later in the sales tax, we did some changes on a 550 we had to buy this year. We used some of our equipment off of one that was damaged, and so we saved some money with the one we did this year. Had originally had one already PO to do this year, but it went into next year as far as being completed. So we have some savings on that. We'll use the bed and everything. We'll have to just buy the cabin chassis in next year's budget. So with some of those things, we'll be adjusting the equipment with the sales tax, and then with this additional funds we get in on the road and bridge side. So again, that carry forward number of 327,739 that the auditor added to our budget will adjust at year end depending on where we end up. But the list of equipment there is currently what we're looking at. If the maximum amount was available going into next year, those are items that we buy. Do you have any
So you
questions about that?
anticipate the carry forward to be over 300,000?
Well, my actual carry forward, 2,500,000,
Right.
but,
That's the cash forward and the revenue side.
right, but we kind of decided that their contingency could stay like right at 2 million, so any difference between those two would go into their heavy equipment.
And again, we understand that's a floating number to some degree, depending on how things end up, based on projected and what actually happens. But we do have a pretty nice list of equipment that we're working off of, and we'll adjust that accordingly. But equipment is definitely of great concern, especially this time of year going into snow. It's always important to have good equipment that
I talked to Tyler the other day, he was working on it, Jim Dandy, huh?
Tyler actually prepared this 2021 equipment budget mid-page. He did a good job on that.
Yes, he did.
So we need to dump some of these.
Yeah, I need to dump some dump trucks.
Tired of fixing them,
More trucks or?
running out of duct tape.
Well, the ones we got that we trade out are getting up there. You're lucky that you get anything for them.
Yeah, I've seen some that look like they're about to fall off the bodies of all the salt and winters they've been through.
There's a lot of cabs and stuff that are rusted completely out.
Yeah, our mechanics do a great job on the mechanical end of it, but you can't really do much with rust. You just have to replace it, and it gets to where it's just not cost effective to keep taking cabs off and replacing floors, which we have done some of that. But definitely, it's something we've made great strides in our equipment over the past few years, and just want to keep doing that. So,
Well, that's something that we talked about at the road and bridge meeting, about trying to keep your equipment in the sales tax. You get it up and try to get on a better replacement schedule so that you have the equipment that you need to keep, take care of the roads, plow and snow and everything else.
and as you said, Chris, that is something going into the next sales tax that we'll present, and I believe that's on the agenda. Jeff, I think you put that on for next week for the sales tax.
15th, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there'll be more discussion
Yeah.
on that, but working with Chris on the road and bridge, our advisory board, that's something that we're looking at increasing into that sales tax. We currently have 290 each year, possibly take that to 400. So definitely something we look at really hard, and honestly, since Brian's been here, equipment's probably been the among other things, equipment, we've had a lot of discussions about that, so it's something he's well versed
All
in.
right.
Sorry, dinner.
Yeah, you're fine.
So, again, the contingency, as Kristen said, we're gonna set that at 2 million. And any overages with carry forward or cash forward would be going into the equipment. And I don't have anything else under road and bridge. Do you have any questions?
So let's talk real fast. I'm gonna try to update as we go. You guys are okay with the cartograph and the Office 365 licenses at the moment?
Well, the cardiograph only have much option.
Mhm.
Okay, so I plugged those in, and I will also update the surplus property on the revenue side. So we have about a $5,000 difference between his changes to revenue and expense. Again, we'll balance that out with the heavy equipment. Do you guys have any other questions for them on that budget itself? So I will tell you that I do not have the salary changes in there yet that were just approved, I think last week or the week before. I will get those in there and we will adjust that again once those are updated.
So are we, and just so that you guys know too, are you gonna adjust the salaries to actual people, or are you gonna keep their salary line the same?
So I normally will do that based on position. So each position title will be what the current salary is, and then any adjustments with COLAs, merits, or other adjustments will go into a separate column into the salary spreadsheet. We normally do salaries at the end. So we'll go through and do other adjustments. They'll of course talk about those salary changes that they want to make, but we will save those at the end. I do know that Eric has a few that he's talking about adjusting next year during the year, but not as of January 1st. He sent me those yesterday. I don't know if you want to talk about some of those or what the total dollar amount is that you're thinking.
You bring that?
I did not bring that information with me. I should
I
have.
printed it. Oh, and I didn't grab it off my printer.
But
I mean, I wasn't really asking for me, but I know you had said something about making some adjustments to certain people.
yes,
And so I mean, if we're willing to do that, I think we need to include it in the budget. I mean, yeah, maybe there'll be some savings in the salary line, but it's not like you guys are just giving people raises throughout the year. And you're
So-
gonna have some savings in your salary line as it is too, so.
from what we currently are today, we will be down going into next year on our salary total. Worked with Kristen on, there's a few people that we've, are looking at, possibly some
Stuff on the
position.
screen.
Yeah, some position changes and,
Do you want to see names?
preferably not. But bottom line, due to what we've promoted people from within with our assistant road superintendent positions, and then removing of the engineering technician, taking one to go into maintenance, and Kevin Light, that's gonna create some ripple, which we expect some people within to move around. So we'll still have some changes going into next year, but we only wanted to address the current positions right now of the retirements by year end. So, working with Kristen, we've identified probably what those changes will be into next year, come up with a rough dollar amount. And so she would add that into our budget next year, from what we're currently at as of today with our salaries.
But your bottom line is the same, or you're looking at even really
If you look
reducing
at
it?
the green, the 32,832, that is what I project being under what we were before any retirements ended, before any changes were made.
So total overall savings with all the moving around, when you're said and done, will be the 32.
After next year with the changes we made.
Right.
And as we've talked, there's certain people that we are looking at.
Any questions? I just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page.
questions on the road and bridge side? Okay,
Now you wanna
thank
go
you.
where?
Planning is fine.
Standing is 173, and it is on page 54.
So on the planning side, the salaries, initially, in working with the auditor, there was possible retirement happening, but at this point, we can't count on that for sure. So we want to leave the original department requested budget of $200,491 in. So that'll change from what she recommended by $7,792.
It'll change a little more than that, but I think you had a larger COLA in there than what I proposed.
Okay.
But, yes, it would take that one position back to the current salary instead of the new starting.
So we would request to leave that in, and if retirements happen, then we'll make adjustments accordingly. All the other salary-related items would be adjusted, or were adjusted, or will be adjusted accordingly with putting that salary back in like it was. And then the only other change was on the vehicle equipment operation. We had submitted,
We got 9,000.
we submitted 9,000, thank you Joyce, and auditor recommended 6,500, deducting that 2,500. And generally it just pays for fuel reimbursement. The trucks are newer, really we will only just need tires is the main item for that, and we're comfortable just leaving that with what she recommended. So that's all I have on the planning side.
Okay.
Next is
Parks and Rec.
page 87.
So the only change that we discussed with the auditor was under park improvements. And we had originally requested replacements of 2 mowers. One is a zero-turn, the other is a smaller kind of four-wheel drive utility tractor with a belly mower. And those 2 pieces of equipment are getting up there within hours and do need to be replaced. Depending on, we're gonna look at this going into next year, especially with bringing Brian on board. He has a different perspective on those pieces of equipment, whether we should replace those or not. And in talking with Kristen, she suggested that those 2 items could come out of the sales tax, the 15% courthouse portion of the sales tax, rather than out of the parks fund. So, based on that, we would agree with her suggestion to drop that number down. Any discussion on that?
So as with most departments, any capital requests, including new pieces of machinery, have been taken out of general fund and put over into the list for sales tax. You'll see that with other departments as well. And that list is listed in the book on page 112.
So what were you, was that the 35,000? Was that the number I was looking at?
Those 2 numbers were replacement of the zero-turn at 20,000 and the John Deere 4x4 mower at 14.5.
So the problem that seems to be with doing stuff like that is you pay it out of one fund, but it's a direct cost of parks. And so you buy it one time, and, you know, you use it for 5 or 10 years, but you never really see what the cost of maintaining the parks is. And so, you know, what's your maintenance cost, what's your equipment cost, what's your employee cost? And so that's something that we tend to lose sight of when you buy it here, and you don't ever incur any costs for equipment other than a little bit of maintenance as you do stuff like that. So, you know, it happens not just with parks, but, you know, with maintenance up here and stuff as well. And so, but what's your true cost of maintaining the parks? And would you be better to, you know, we've talked about this, would you be better to just hire it, somebody to maintain it, versus buying the equipment and paying the labor and doing all that other stuff?
It's a good discussion topic, and I tend to agree with your idea. We actually bid that
Right.
years back,
Mhm.
and I guess the prices came in a little bit higher.
Right.
At the time, it just wasn't the right decision to go with.
Mhm.
Now that our equipment's got that much older, you know, maybe it's something to think about a little more seriously. One thing as far as tracking parks expenses, Cartograph will allow us to maybe look at that a little bit differently than through our BSNA system, where we might be able to track the time and equipment and the materials.
You'll be able to track employee costs based on their salary, the equipment costs. The only thing different would be the maintenance cost would go into a different line item in through the fleet side of Cartograph, but we can still put those numbers together.
So it might be worthwhile this year just to leave our equipment as it is, and then see what our true cost is over the course of the year.
Right.
And reevaluate at the end of the year.
I don't disagree. I mean, but, you know, you gotta take this big chunk of equipment and you gotta put it into that cost somewhere. You can't just pay it out of capital and forget about it. Oh, we bought that elsewhere. I mean, because it's not right.
It is a cost to the parks.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, I guess where we're at on it, we're kind of indifferent on it. I think, I don't think it hurts to push it this year, let him see how things operate and get a different perspective on it. And at the end of the year, or maybe at budget time, we'll have a better idea where we think we want to be. Can we make that equipment last another year? Yes. But it's getting time, so.
It's not just parks though. I mean, don't we use this equipment for
We use it for other county, like our
our
facility.
facility with it? We push snow with the tractor.
The small one, I think it comes
Here.
up here and they use it up here, so it's.
So there's a little bit of offset cost there. And we also mow roundabout over to Bighorn.
Yeah, there's additional county-owned facilities that we take care of. So we use it for that too, but primarily it's parks, you know, 95%.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me whether you buy it or not. I think it just, the cost needs to go into Cartograph, you know, parks and buildings or whatever, in some type of a formula.
I'm gonna once we get it, I'm gonna create a work order for each park. So at the end of next year, when we're having this discussion, I should be able to tell you the cost of every single park.
I won't be
what
here.
it took. Well, but you can call and ask.
You're not coming to budget meetings next year?
No,
Oh,
That
no.
hurts, Chris.
So Eric, while we're
I hope we
talking-
got 6 feet of snow.
Pushing
While we're
snow.
kind of talking about parks, so, there was some money in this year's 5-year sales tax set aside for parks, and it's in the 15% portion that we won't talk about here in a minute. So do you guys want to talk about what your plans are? Because there's about 76,000, I think, is,
I was thinking it was more like 40.
that we spent this year.
Debbie, do you know what we
I thought
have
it was
left on
like
sales tax
46.
under the 100,000 for parks?
Here, I'll get it just a second here.
We have a Parks Committee meeting next week, and one thing I recall from the last one we had, in addition to the pads for the disc golf, the big ticket item we need to complete by the end of next year is paving of County Park parking lot, the gravel portion. What
Well, scared to even bring it up about the dog park.
We'll push that to the next sales tax.
Okay.
The committee and the county had already committed to the paving of the lot and getting all that done in this current, and that's gonna eat up the rest of the funds we have.
I have 76,487.
Okay, well, maybe we got some more, so.
I thought there was like.
And we talked about some other funding stuff for the dog park, possibly too,
Right. Yeah.
sponsorships, and I'd still like to look at that, because if we can do that with as little cost to the taxpayers, even better. I know the one they did down at Taos, it's gone over really good, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I don't know,
and,
maybe road trip out there sometime and look at it if you want to. It's not got bells and whistles, it's a fence, it's got a few signs. And it's just, people are able to use it. They don't
Did
have other
someone
places.
sponsor that one?
I'm sorry.
Did someone sponsor the one in Taos?
Yeah,
Yeah.
as far as I know, there was sponsorships, so.
and that can help with like fencing and other improvements to get it started originally. There's maintenance of it, but it's minimal, so it's,
Cost is minimal too, so if you
Yeah.
don't do sponsorships, you have less stuff you have to worry about, deals that you make on how much advertising or signage they get or whatever too, so sometimes it's easier just to do it, so.
yeah. If that's the case on those sales tax funds, then we might be able to roll that in the next year.
Wheeler
as
just
well.
bored.
So definitely, priority wise, it's the paving of the parking lot to get that done. And then we can, I think we probably get the dog park done too.
Well, let's sit down and compare numbers, but that's what I had in there for 2020, and we haven't spent anything this year, so
Okay.
I have 76,487 for next year.
That's, I think that's gonna be ample enough money to do the parking lot and then give us some extra, so.
If so, we can, otherwise we look out for the 2022 cycle and just have to go from there. I know it's stuff that they were looking for inside the city, and this park is right outside the city limits, so it'll really serve the citizens of Jefferson City as well, and less distance they'd have to travel to get to, so.
County Park gets a lot of use. It's good, it really is a good park, and we need to do our best to make improvements where needed and create more things for people to do out there. The dog park is a great example of things we can do. Paving of the lot with the gravel washing into the lake and things like that, I think that's long overdue. We'll get that done, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I think we can get that dog park done too with those funds.
Yeah.
We'll talk with the auditor.
Put that as a maybe.
Yeah.
Don't make any promises.
We need to
Yeah.
reshingle the or the bathrooms too.
There's additional things out there. The bathroom facility is getting old, but, again, those are things as we're learning coming into this, ideas and ways that we can make improvements to there, we're gonna be doing that.
You guys have any other questions about parks?
No.
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
So just kind of a disclaimer, sales tax is the one that changes the most between now and the end of the year. So normally Eric and I will sit down right at the end of the year and adjust everything to actual. But right now, we kind of plugged in open purchase orders that we thought would be open. And then his list of projects that he wants to start or complete next year. And I'll let him kind of talk through what those projects are.
The last year of the sales tax is always completing items that either dragged on to the end.
112, isn't it?
114.
We're catching up things with the city cooperative projects. There's a lot of different odds and ends that can be in that very last year. So starting at the top, vehicle and heavy equipment, we have the 290 plus some carry forward for 335. And again, that couples with what I talked about earlier on the additional funds we would have for the road and bridge side to get that equipment that we would like to purchase. Primarily our dump trucks and our 550s, and then looking at we need to replace 2 pickup trucks and then possibly a new pull behind paver. And we're looking at doing more paving internally with our own crews going into the future. So that's something we need to seriously think about. But that equipment list will, depending on where our funding comes or amount comes in on the road and bridge side, it'll add to that, and we're looking pretty good there. Cooperative projects at $2,187,000. $103,000 and some change. The two there, line item are the MSP redevelopment, we have $1 million available there. And then the Dunkland roundabout project at $1,103,000 and some change. And those are just city-driven projects that we've either agreed to or are projected to agree to. And on the MSP redevelopment, it's kind of just a placeholder right now. I don't know what development has occurred on, or, you know, the project they got going on there. And that's something we need to be a little concerned about at year end, just to have some sort of commitment if that's what it's gonna be or something else. So kind of tracking that, and hopefully that plays out like it should. If not, there may be some other items in the mix. So, under bridge construction, we always allow some funds in there to do just miscellaneous stormwater repairs, and then also bridge maintenance comes out of that at $25,000. So of the 125 total, 100,000 we would put towards mostly little projects. Either we bid them or we do them in-house. And we have two designed for Lakewood subdivision that we would probably do next year. But it also could support emerging needs if something comes up, a pipe collapses or something like that, or an inlet needs to be replaced right away. The funds are there to do that. South Brooks Phase 3, that design project, we would move that into next year. That's a carry forward from this current year into next year. And some additional funds in there too, as we've talked a little bit in passing about possibly a cooperation with a developer there to do some stormwater retention. And haven't progressed too far on that, other than we know where it would be in working with a developer. And if we could, we would do a development agreement with them to add to what they would be required to by our planning and subdivision regulations. So there's some additional funds in there to do some cooperation with them. We have the Old Forge Bridge and the High Point Road box culvert, and those are VRO projects that would show on the revenue side for income as well from the VRO funds. And that's $450,000 and $300,000 for those two. Business 50 improvements, Phase 2 of that, taking it from the flats where we ended Phase 1 up to Route T and St. Martin's at $3.25 million. That's the current estimate. We think we can make some tweaks to that to lower that amount. And one additional item that we would like to do, we don't have any funds in there now for it, but Les Road, gravel road upgrade, that's one we're currently doing the design in-house with our own engineering staff. And in talking with our maintenance staff, probably do the grading in-house as well. We would have to bid the asphalt portion of that work. And depending on where we come in with Business 50, if that comes in less, then we would have money to put towards Les Road. And as Kristen said, this is something that evolves and changes, and at year end, we make the final adjustments to it. So we'll have to probably, on the Business 50, we won't bid that this year, it'll be next year, so we won't be able to make any change adding in Les Road until we know where we're at on that. Under the villages, we allot an average of $140,000 each year to add up to the $700,000 that the villages get, $100,000 each community, and so our remainder is $158,000. And under resurfacing, we have $1.25 million. Tanner Bridge Road safety improvements at $150,000, and that's to include some additional design work as well as another phase of that south of the Grand Highland intersection. And then we still have money already PO'd, and we would just carry forward into this year for cooperative projects with the villages, Russellville and Wardsville. And dropping our contingency down, and again, working with Kristen, we adjusted it based on what our original submittal was, taking that contingency down to $446,000. And that's all I have on the sales tax. Are there any questions on that? Guess that completes what I have. Is there any questions about anything in general or? Nope. All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to do this. Again, this is my first time and learning the ropes. Thanks to Joyce for being here. You did say something. I appreciate that. I'm not as versed on where everything is in here as she is, and it helps to have her available. So appreciate all the support from the commission over the years, especially this year as we're making our changes and doing real well. A lot of good stuff going on. So appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Saturday.
you. See you Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
God, we're moving.
No, you're on, I'm leaving. All right.
Michael.
One question real quick, Sam, are we pulling up out front?
Yeah, we're gonna do right by the flagpole.
Okay.
Here, because since we widen that, you know, I think, and there's the handicap, so you could actually park some of your motorcycles on the sidewalk or in the street,
Okay.
either on High Street or Monroe.
We'll have a Suburban pulling our Wells cargo trailers that'll have the bikes in it.
Okay.
So it's like
Yeah.
a 16-foot. Boone Electric Cooperative gave us that through a trust grant, so.
You might pull right in there where the handicap spot, my spot, Sam's spot are at.
Yeah,
Just right out front, okay? I'll
yeah,
look at it.
yeah.
Alongside.
I like
Shouldn't
it
be
where the
anybody here.
flagpole and our
Yeah.
monument is. You've got the courthouse in the background.
Okay.
It's,
Our trailer has our Hooligans Charitable Riding Group on the side of it, so I'd like to get that. Well, we got it through a trust grant through the Electric Cooperative, so it'd be nice to.
You're good, I'll tell you.
All right,
Well, Brian, park it right here. Like I said, just pull in
okay.
right here and
Then they gotta wheel the bikes all the way around.
I think we're gonna have about
You have
8
your
of us
trailer.
freezing our butts off on them motorcycles on Saturday.
yeah.
See you later.
Okay, Michael.
We're a little bit ahead of schedule.
I like that.
Keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael's here.
Quick break.
I lost my
Oh. Yeah, let me get some more coffee.
Okay, so let's take 5 minutes and we'll come back.
Yeah, Michael's here, so. as soon as
Yeah,
we're
let's
ready-
just keep moving ahead.
So y'all tricked me. They figured it's supposed to start till 9, and he said you got early because.
We're 8 o'clock, man, I'll tell you what. No, we did, we started at 8.
What's the normal start time?
Huh?
What's the normal start time?
9. No, we started at 8.
I said you tricked me.
How we doing?
Good.
Good.
I'm so excited.
Anything new
Huh?
I'm
inside
so
in the
excited to be
county?
here.
Stay out of the crowd. I didn't look at the.
You could have brought me coffee.
Because I thought they were talking about care stuff and that's a three.
Sorry, I'll remember that. I'll remember that next year.
Uh-huh.
Well, how long is this normally last? All day or?
The budget,
3 days. Huh?
we will be here 3 days.
For the budget.
Yeah, for the budget.
A normal county commission meeting could be
Yeah.
10 minutes or
10 hours.
10 hours.
Got a question?
Whenever Jeff says, I got all day. That could be a 10-hour meeting.
I got all day. Yep, they never want to hear that one.
So what's the latest with all the CARES money today? I heard on news this morning where they're actually thinking about pulling back a lot of the unused CARES money and distributing it to other entities. That's like throughout the nation.
Did that CARES thing that I did for
$455 billion.
professional services, that,
I actually think it's on there today to talk about.
okay.
But yeah,
Should I stick around for that?
It's not till 3,
Should I come back for that to answer any questions?
you might,
Okay.
but I think they have it in there to approve. I mean,
Okay, good. So we were okay. Okay, good.
Well, that's like,
I'm not sure
vaccine comes out,
documentation on that one,
you know,
how you're
the
gonna
healthcare
document.
workers have to be the first
I
ones.
documented the best I
Yeah,
could,
because, I mean, it's just
you
common
know,
sense.
so,
Yeah, but you gotta do it.
because everything's been delayed because of this pandemic. Always coming back continuances, people can't go, but COVID, and it just creates more court appearances for
If
us.
you don't have people to take care of you, you're pretty
Because in the
much.
past, one hearing would, one issue would take us one time, now it's taking us 3 and 4
Yeah.
times.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
As in employees, available employees?
Some told me to come early.
They're moving patients around in Missouri because they're trying to find enough space for beds and vents and ICU beds and even some of the doctors now are working at Kent Region and at St. Mary's trying to give each other relief. So it's,
I'd like to talk to that Dr. Williams, about some statistics on things, my own little personal analysis on the people that are getting this, and my opinion and my hypothesis on why certain people
I'll tell you,
get
if you
it
get
worse than
on,
others.
if you get on the health department's website, Christie does an outstanding job about laying out all the information, and it's all raw data, so you can look at it, and it's not been massaged by, the media.
Did Eric give you?
But it's,
I'm sorry.
Did Eric
but
give you
it's very
handouts?
good information. There's a
No.
dashboard there.
But how, into what
You
different
guys did
categories is
handouts.
it
We
broken
need a
down?
copy for the
Age group,
Yeah, no, I did not.
ethnicity,
Yep.
really?
Yes, sir.
Here's that title,
And also,
Deb.
you can look at it as
I don't
far as
wanna,
Polk
that
County
bottom
versus-
part's getting kinda loose, I don't
Give it to
wanna,
Don.
it'd be my luck, I'd tear it off or something.
So you can go as deep and as dark as you want to go. So don't go too far because you'll get all depressed. Hey, we'll see you guys later.
I realize
I'll see you at 3 o'clock.
I realize that life is a terminal illness. Now, argue that one. Is that a fact or not? Life is a terminal illness. You don't live forever?
74.
Then the cause of death is what? Birth. The cause of death is birth. Pretty good. How are you today, boy? Yep. Life is a terminal illness. Can we figure out time travel or the fountain of youth or?
Are you, Michael?
I'm doing
They
good.
did have
Still got a
statistics
Santa
on
for you.
60.
I got it already.
Oh, did you get it?
Oh,
See, I'm not
yeah.
sure about
See, I got it.
They
She's,
said that
she's keeping me busy all the
people.
time.
Oh, no, I picked it up 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's, you're sure.
Probably on average, 100 and-
I don't know.
Belinda's got to pick hers up, though. I picked mine up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I remember years and years ago, I forget what class it was, but they said that the human body should be able to live to 120, then it's just flat wore out. It's just nothing, but you gotta have certain conditions.
Can you see my dagger?
Well, my mom's 95, and she still takes care of herself, drives.
Well,
Lucky. You didn't live that long.
yeah, it's somewhere online, you gotta draw
I'm
lines.
the good guy, you know.
All righty. Better get back here, so I'm not holding it up. We were ahead, so I don't wanna slow it down.
Page 74. If you're in the book.
John, you that bored this morning?
Well, I had something going on and it got blowed up, so I said, I'll just come up and see what's going on.
All right.
It's too cold to do anything else. Ain't no quail to hunt. Can't find a rabbit.
Take a look at Jeff's truck. I think it sits too high. I think it needs to be
No.
lowered.
I've already
Just-
been told that it's not, it's been measured.
What's
It
that?
looks high to
Truck.
me. I think my Corvette would fit under it. Okay, Michael, enough dilly-dallying.
I only have one area that I want to talk to the commission about. Everything that has been, I have put in for the department and what the, has been by the budget officer, I agree with. I have no disparities whatsoever in that area. I agree with everything that's been put down. There's only one area that, is an area of concern, and that is when it comes to the part-time salaries. That has not been touched for a long time. That is a very difficult position to maintain on an ongoing basis. If we're going to give an increase in full-time positions, I would hope to see something happen in that part-time slot right there. Whatever percentage is being considered at that point. We're at $12.50 an hour, and that is tough. I have not been at full staff or part-time staff for almost a year now. I'm either down 2 or 3 slots at a
How many
time.
do you have? now?
5 part-time. It's 5 part-time staff that I have. So I'm not talking a lot of part-time staff. It's only 5 that I have. That is an area of concern. You know, if we could look at it with a flat across the board or a percentage, I would appreciate whatever you can consider on that at being $12.50 an hour is what it is at this point. In my capital improvements area, I know I've been asking for a number of years, the repaving and striping of our parking lot. That's the one facing the football field over there. The other one's in pretty good shape. That's not bad, but it's the one by the football field, the larger parking lot. I need to replace furniture in our front lobby. That is just depleted furniture. It's dilapidated and it's really in bad repair for the seating and all right there. In our residential area, we have our residential desks that we have our computer on. That's carpet in there. We need to really take that carpet up and replace it with vinyl. That way we don't have to do that replacement all the time in that small area right there. And also, I've got a solid core wood door between my detention and residential area, and that needs to be replaced because it is split, and we cannot keep it tightened enough in order to keep that door shutting properly, where the fittings are at this point, where the door is split down the middle, where it's been screwed in so many times to try to capture that.
It's a solid door?
That solid core door, yes. It's a fire-rated door.
Why don't they get longer screws and fix it?
Huh?
Why can't they get longer screws and fix it?
Because they have, and it's splitting as you go down the middle of that door.
Jam splitting.
The jam, yes.
So
It's not really the
Jam is
jam,
not
it's
the
the
door.
door itself, where the
Oh,
hinge hooks onto the door. It's not, the split is past the hinge now.
I see.
And it's going right on down.
so the door's split.
I looked at that door, I think we measured that door, it's around an 8-foot door, and I'm not sure what the cost would be on something like that. We'll probably bid that out, you know, but that is that needs to be replaced.
So a regular walk-through door,
Walk-through door,
but it's
yes.
8 foot tall.
Pardon me?
It's 8 foot tall.
8 foot tall, yes.
It's a big door.
Yes, it is. A very heavy door too, a solid core door.
That wasn't on the capital list.
No,
No.
because that just came to my attention about a month ago. And we were trying to.
Can you try to get some prices for some of that stuff for us, or?
Do it. Try to get prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
You
you
would-
submitted the list, but
Right.
if you can try to get
I will-
bids or something, so we know.
On all these
costs.
here?
Yeah.
Okay, I will get that back to you, hopefully by the end of this week or the beginning of next week for you.
Get with Eric or Brian, they can probably give you an idea on the parking lot.
Who?
Eric or Brian.
Okay. Okay.
Out of Public Works, they can
Okay.
probably give you an idea on paving the parking lot.
I will get with them on that. Other than that, we're in good shape. We have done well this year on our revenues, on identifying in the residential area. I think we're over at this point in the revenue on the residential side of the program. So that's worked out well in meeting our goals within that area. Other than that, we're doing fairly well down there at the center. I did mention earlier this year that I will be retiring. I've been talking to Debbie, and I've chosen July 9th. That is the end of a pay period in July, so.
We're training him right now.
So they get upset when you do it in between or whatever, so.
So you know what Public Works we made them do is find a replacement before they can
We're
retire.
starting to work on that. I talked with the
So is Judge.
with the judge, and we're talking about putting an announcement out in February having it come back, and then having the months of March and April to review those applications. And hope to have someone on board the month of month of May, where we could work hand in hand, May and June.
So
And
we
then I-
probably would have a little extra money in there for.
Overlap.
Right,
Overlap.
yes, for a 2-month overlap in that. But I think that we're in pretty good shape. I know we've met all of our standards. We've passed all of our licensing requirements, so we're not in any problems within that area. And one of the big areas that I've tried to do is make sure that if there were any issues, I would let you know ahead of time, but I think we've not been in the newspaper, so that's one of the big things, making sure we don't if we do err in the paper, it's something that we've done, we're wanting to be in the paper, not that we don't want to be there, so I think we've done a pretty good job within that area. Any questions for me?
So do you guys have any questions about Michael's budget while he's here?
I don't think so.
I got a quick question. Since I'm new here, what department are you with?
I'm the juvenile court administrator, juvenile court in Cole County.
We'll get to see if you can retire in July, I don't know.
I'm hitting that golden age where you need to start looking. I've got more years behind me than I do in front of me, so I want to at least cherish these few years.
So I thought when Jennifer came that you had included a 2% COLA in this budget book.
I did.
Yes,
Okay.
on the,
I thought you said earlier that you didn't have that when Eric was here.
No, I told Eric that he asked that it go back to what he requested, and his request included more than a 2%. So
I
there's a
see.
difference between
Okay.
his request and mine, so.
Okay. Had nothing
But
to do
yes,
with you.
there is a 2% COLA.
okay, yeah, only on the full time, not on part-time.
Right, right.
No other questions for Michael?
Nope.
Oh,
Thanks, Michael.
Okay,
Make sure.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna find out real quick at that working for a living, you really cutting your day.
Christie, let's just keep moving ahead.
Every day's Saturday, you got time to come listen to the commission speak.
Christie's on page 59.
I did submit this electronically, but I brought paper copies in case you want.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure I've got it in
59?
folder. But since you got hard copy here.
I like paper to look at. Well, this has been a little bit of a weird year for the health department.
No.
So I feel, I apologize because I feel a little discombobulated when it comes to the budget. Because I know that there are some areas of our budget that we thought we would spend and we didn't because we didn't do those activities. You know, we talked about getting that nurse practitioner on with a contract for maybe one of the hospital systems, and with their shortage, you know, and with everything going on, and, you know, we're limiting clinic services to reduce foot traffic in the health department, we just didn't get there this year. So we kept that in the budget for next year so we could revisit it depending on, you know, how staffing was going and things like that. But the main thing that I would like to request, which we talked about it last year at budget time, and I think we talked about it this year in August, was the addition of an environmental public health specialist. So Chris White's position could not be dual role. It could be solely emergency response planner. And this year, you know, he has had to do a lot of extra things with helping with the COVID-19 outbreak. He's had to do a lot of planning for that, exercises, and before that, and also with the website. And then I think as we move into dispensing the vaccine, you know, he has been very instrumental in setting up those points of dispensing sites with private entities or public entities. He's worked a lot with the state to try to set up dispensing sites with the state offices. And I think that as we move into this next year, it's even more important to separate those positions. I know they were put together right before I took over in 2013. So we've had about 7 years to see if this is going to work, and it's not working very well. It really needs to be 2 positions. And incidentally, last week I received an email from a neighboring county who lost their part-time environmental person, and they are interested to see if we can maybe take over some of those environmental duties and also do their child care health consultation contract like we do for Callaway, and maybe even their maternal child health contract. So they're very interested in seeing if we could help, because for some of those small counties, it doesn't pay to have those positions on board to keep that person staffed and trained. It does make sense for a larger county to help out with those duties, you know, if funding can be arranged. I know on a statewide level, there's been a lot of talk about after COVID, what do some of these smaller health departments look like and whether regionalization should be considered. And I think that it puts us in a really great position to help out some of those smaller counties that don't have the staff to do those duties.
So would this bring in more revenue too to help pay salaries?
It could, yes. Yeah, like CCHC, we get paid, you know, to do Callaway County. MCH, we would get a portion for that. I just sent a note back to that administrator asking about the environmental duties, because of course we would need to be compensated for those duties too. Child care inspections, we get paid per inspection from the state. It's only like $80, but the other environmental things, we would have to receive some funding for that, of course. But that really is my main request for this next year, along with, I had put a 3% COLA in for staff. Did you adjust it to 2? Okay. And then we had talked about, I would really like to have merit increases for those staff that went above and beyond this year and worked overtime and did all the extra duties that were definitely not in their job description. So we had put small merit raises in for them.
So I will go back. There are 6 positions included in my proposed budget. One of them is the environmental public health specialist. So that position is included in the proposed at the moment. The nurse practitioner is not currently.
We had that as a contract, right? Not as a position?
Yeah.
Right.
And then, like Christy said, I had a 2% COLA instead of the 3.
Did you include my merit raises?
I did not. So I think there is some wiggle room for some merit. I have not come up with a good plan as far as merit across the board, just because we have such varying sizes of departments. It's hard to determine a merit amount. If you want to individually approach the different positions that were requested, we could do that. But right now, there is not merit included in the proposed.
So does a environmental position, is it at $44,000 a year, and is that?
I think that was the
that's
starting rate.
salary,
Yeah. Yes.
So you think you can find somebody at that salary?
Yes. The other thing is, it's probably just going to be for this year, but the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant that pays a portion of Chris's salary and Chesney's salary, they have some crisis and carryover money that will be extra this year. It won't be ongoing, but because of COVID, they do have some extra funding this year that we'll be applying for. We don't have a lot of details yet. When I get details, I'll let you know.
So if we budget this though, then so if we plan for this stuff, then it's gonna come back and bite us in the ass if there's more CARES money come down, because we won't be able to request funding for it, because we budgeted for it and we're supplying it. Right? That's not a question for you, this
Right.
is more of
I
our.
know, a bigger picture.
Yeah, because we're, really right now, we can't tell what Chris has got to do, because he's probably been more tied up with the COVID emergency planning response stuff and trying to plan for when we do get vaccinations.
So really, I think you could consider, if you're going to move Chris into that emergency preparedness position and replace his environmental the environmental position you're adding is not necessarily the one that you would submit through CARES.
It's
Chris's
Chris's.
current position, which is already in the budget. It's just the fact that he can't dedicate the whole amount of his time to it. So I don't know the addition of this position is going to affect that because his position is already currently in the budget and would be next year as well.
But we're having to hire somebody else to do the emergency planning full-time. Or actually, we're taking him away to do it full-time and having to hire somebody else to do the
Right.
whole
Right.
stuff. So, and it's because of the COVID thing. So,
I don't know that there's any
Yeah.
guarantee that there's going to be additional care spending next year.
Oh, I think,
I know nothing's guaranteed, but.
Oh, I
except
think
for
there's-
death, But I just, if you do this, we're trying to be smart and plan ahead and go, well, we really need to do this. But to get funding for it's gonna kinda, it may bite us on the backside in hindsight, but I don't know, we had $29 million worth of requests for, or 27, whatever it was, for $9 million, so it wasn't like we couldn't use it somewhere.
And like I said, we talked about this last year at budget time. We were already seeing the need for more planning and more environmental, emergency response planning activities and more environmental complaints. And, as more houses are built out in the county, it's more on-site sewage permits, more complaints. We were already seeing a pinch before COVID, and it just exacerbated the problem with that staff.
Yeah,
And
I hate to
the
keep-
environmental staff helped, determine if people were essential business or non-essential. Like this year, everybody was pulled to do different duties. Everybody pitched in and helped, so.
That wasn't really a question on it, it was just more of a comment and.
Right, I get it.
You guys have other questions for Christine?
No.
no,
Do you have any other changes besides salary?
No, that was all. Like I said, the rest of it, I think I think our immunization numbers were probably a little off because we were supposed to do those flu clinics for the state office buildings, and because the majority of their staff is still working from home, we're not doing those flu clinics, so a little bit of the revenue we expected, didn't come in, but we also didn't purchase the flu vaccine either, so I would like those numbers to just stay the same for this year, and then next year we'll see how it goes when maybe we're more normal. We'll see. Hopefully. Maybe.
Yeah.
well, hopefully too, if we start working with some of the smaller counties and that can kind of reimburse that, then
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Do you want me to come back at 3:30? Is it 3:30 for the CARES discussion? Do you need me to be here for that?
What we've received yesterday doesn't include, I'm sure, the ones, because they had till midnight last night, so.
I
I think-
submitted that
I mean-
educational materials proposal that came from, that was the city and hospital collaboration. So I did submit that yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, so
Okay.
what we've got,
I know, I
what
just
we've got
didn't,
today
did
is
you
not
need,
all that.
okay. I didn't know if you needed me here to discuss that educational proposal or not.
Yeah.
It's up to you, if you want me to come back or if you got it.
Here's what we've got right now.
Like I said, I just didn't know if you wanted me to come back to discuss that proposal or not.
It might be good if you're here, if you can swing it.
Yeah, I can, I just didn't. Okay. I will be here at 3:30 then.
Okay.
All right, let me know if you have any other questions.
Will do,
Easy.
thank you.
All right,
Getting you
thanks,
ahead of
Chrissy.
schedule.
Gosh, I tell you, I like this.
All those guys on our
How are they going to basically line up?
Is Eric Peters coming?
They're gonna start.
Yeah.
He's down for
They
noon.
have tiered approach.
Melissa's down there.
Looks like
Yeah.
We can call Eric and tell him come on out, 'cause I don't think.
Bushman's probably the only person that remembers.
Do what?
Oh, that opens school.
Yeah.
So
I'd
it's
say
just-
we'll get to it
because
before
like
that.
Yeah, I
if we
think
keep
we'll get-
going.
cold vaccine, we won't even-
You want us to text you?
It's like negative
Yeah,
90.
you can.
You know,
Okay.
that has
Yeah,
to
if we
be-
get
it
to
has
it
be
before you're here, we'll
results
text you.
for
Oh,
freezing.
yeah, yeah.
It's gonna have to run through the hospitals because we don't even have
asking around, I'm after
Well,
the list,
I just
so
wanted to-
Oh,
Well, that's what Jeff was just asking about capital improvements. I mean, could we,
Hell,
Can we do it now?
Right now, if you want to.
If you want to, yeah.
While you're here, you don't
unless you gotta run right now.
Yeah,
If I thought this is a break, I can do something.
just for you, just for you.
We did 22 elementary schools this fall on top of everything else.
So, really, the list on page 112 are the requests that I've received. So I always ask in the budget that you do your capital request in writing. These are the ones that actually submitted something. The building maintenance ones, I've only included the project A priority, so he ranks them A, B, and C. I've only included the A's, so if you want to see the B's and the C's, we can pull that spreadsheet up, but
What's going on with the clock bill? Does that need to be replaced, Jeff?
I'm not sure.
Courthouse clock bill.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know. Trying to refresh my,
I don't know. That's why I was just asking. Jeff was kind of our,
no, that'd be about 60,000 more at least.
so you're not aware of what that is.
No. But
Maybe,
the hands
did
and
Greg put that
face-
on there?
Greg did put that on there.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I was gonna kinda let the ones walk through their requests. I mean, the building project ones is the ones that really come from you guys. I was gonna let everybody else kind of walk through their requests while they were here.
Looks like most of these are from Greg.
They are, so he has a fairly good equipment list there first, and then the next is the building projects by building.
Right.
And then starting in parks is where we get to the other office requests. So here's his list up on the screen if you want to see B's and C's as well.
Is Greg available?
We're ready for these ones.
I think he definitely needs a new pickup. I think.
We talked about the hands and the face on there, but I'm not finding anywhere where I've got a bid on that.
Hey, can you come over to the position, we're talking about the capital budget for next year? Okay, thanks. He's at the jail.
Okay.
He wasn't invited. Over here.
He spends a lot of time at the jail, considering that's,
So you got so I'm just reading the caption at the top, the 2020 appropriation from all revenues from the 1/2 cent sales and capital improvement taxes, $12,475,000.
So that's both pieces of it. It's the 15% for courthouse and it's the 85% that goes to road and bridge. So the 12 million is the total budget at the moment. So that includes the about 6 million that comes in during the year, plus what we have in carry forwards and open
Okay,
projects.
that's what I was wondering. So, because it's normally about 6 million a year, and so there's 6 million of carry forward. And so, but is that, is the 15% for capital requests our portion, or I say our portion, but that we can spend on this, is that?
Yeah, so if you look at page 113, it's about 3.2 in that 15% side.
Okay.
And since we're kind of to the last year of that 5-year sales tax, the contingency kind of starting to drop down, and really pushing that into capital improvements and stuff because we need to spend that down to start the new sales
Right.
tax. So there is 2.5 in capital improvement line, and then there's another 225,000 in computerization.
Okay. And of course, I don't see any really computerization. Wasn't that kind of Brian's
Yes, so
stuff?
Brian has a separate list that goes into computerization. It's not listed out here.
Okay.
I can pull his sheet up as well.
So out of this 4,055,000 in requests that are here, and Michael doesn't even have his stuff in there for a total, but we got 2.5 to spend, or?
Yeah. And I will tell you that this year I did include 3 million in general fund for capital improvements as well. So we've seen some surpluses in there. We need to start spending that carry forward down a little bit. So 3 million in capital improvements in general fund as well that could be used on some of these same projects if wanted. If you want to pick one project to spend out of general, we can do that as well. I do know that there's some big ticket items that we've talked about that are maybe B priorities on the list by building, but are things that are going to have to happen in the next few years.
But that could be the Adams building remodel, or
You could do
something
that,
over
or
there,
you could
which
do the
frees up quite a bit of
addition,
money there.
where the
Take
jail
that one
is.
out.
Yeah. But we definitely have a growing list of capital requests that we need to start
Okay.
eating the elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah, this year was just kind of a,
Well, we got the courthouse is gonna be the biggest elephant, and that's probably something we need to write whole little money and then say, this is kind of the plan. Maybe it's in 10 years to redo the plumbing and stuff in there, because that's gonna be some big money on those.
Oh, yeah.
I just think you need to watch that sales tax renews every 5 years. You don't, you want to be using that money and not putting it all away too, to show that there is the need to renew that every 5 years as well.
but we
I'm not
need,
saying put it all
Obviously, that
away.
list- Yeah, but
we need more space for one thing, but whether it be Adams or whether it be the addition where the old jail is or something, we need to do something. That's gonna be expensive. So-
Can we jump to Eric or Melissa
Yeah.
here real quick? And
Yeah.
You guys real quick, or?
let's do Melissa. She was next on the thing, page 44.
We're waiting on Greg. Great.
Gave you this, I think, last time, but,
Thank you.
I kind of just, added the imagery. Since we had the actual cost of the imagery, I put that at the bottom, and
Okay.
the part that the city is gonna pay
Okay.
also. And, yeah, pretty much the same as it has been. It's actually maybe a little bit down.
Okay. So it looks like Kristen's got everything in here that,
Yeah.
You asked for?
I didn't see anything different, so.
Okay, so you're-
That I was worried about, so I'm good.
okay, you're good,
Yep.
awesome, great.
Alrighty.
You're good.
Thank you. All right, Eric, you real quick?
Yeah, mine will be simple too. I sent you guys county investment stuff, by the way, this morning. If you have any questions, let me know right now.
30 if you want to see.
Okay.
Have any changes?
I have no changes. What I wanted to do was just ask, maybe out of the capital budget, I've got 3 chairs that are falling apart,
Okay.
and a chair that I've been sitting in that is a hand-me-down from
Yeah, it's in
Marvin
there.
Register. So, actually, this morning I was gonna get online with Check Office. I meant to go out there sooner and actually test out a couple of chairs, but with COVID, I don't feel like going into other people's businesses right now. So what I need to do is just find out how maybe early in this year, have $1,000 or $2,000 so I can go out and buy 3 or 4 chairs. I have 2 guest chairs that need to be replaced, my own office chair, and then there's a 1960s credenza that needs to be replaced in my office. I'd prefer to have something with shelves as opposed to drawers. It just sits there, and it's not very useful to us, and it's about 50 years old. So maybe $1,000 to $2,000 was kind of what I was hoping I could get set aside in the capital budget for that, if this is the right time and place to ask for that.
Hey,
Chris-
anything
Crystal's
from
got
the
it
sixties
included.
is worth a lot of money.
Not this one.
Do you guys have any other questions for Eric?
And whoever did the carpet cleaning in the courthouse did an excellent job. We've had some stains and stuff in our carpet, rather sizable. They came out the other day and it's all gone, and so whoever did that, whoever that vendor is worth having back in the future. Thanks.
Who was that, Greg?
Yeah, who was that?
Rydell, I guess, but I know Danny's been cleaning carpet over there too, so I don't know.
Okay.
Greg. Thanks, Eric.
Carol?
Okay, Greg, you're up.
Give back to capital.
Prove it all.
You got a bigger checkbook.
News Tribune's got the money. Ask Jeff. What do you want to know? Where do you want to start?
What was that, 15,000 on the clock bill?
That was for the guy to come back out to go through everything up in the, when we met with him back in, God, was it March or April? We went over there to the tower to go through and make sure the bell wasn't cutting through upstairs and check some of the gears and drives up there. But then you,
Clock face and arms and.
Was just him coming.
just him coming out and doing a survey, go through it, but then you said something about maybe trying to find the gentleman out in Wardsville that you had dealt with before. Didn't know if he was still around or not.
I'll have to check on that one too. Neil or Siebert or.
I don't, you said you had a name somewhere, so.
Right offhand. Okay.
So I just kind of left that number on there roughly. I'd hate for that, the pin up there to wear through and the bell fall all the way down. So.
Driveway replacement, don't we have that?
It's been in the works for 2 years.
I was
That's
gonna
an
say,
Eric.
we have a contract and an open PO for that.
That's an Eric deal. He said the contract got misplaced and never found, and I left, he said he'd take care of it, so I left it up for him. That's for redoing this driveway and over to Carnegie Building and down in the pit. I'd have to ask Eric where that's at, or what the status is.
I was gonna say, we do have an open PO for that.
Leg cramp.
Look at those at juvenile at the same time.
Yeah, juvenile definitely needs to, even the concrete down there on the side where the dumpster is with that big concrete, or with the big trash dumpster is tearing it up pretty bad. It's starting to break up.
Is that concrete in front of that?
Yeah, it's concrete. It's not very, 6 inches thick.
We'll have to go back, heavy-duty concrete.
Yeah.
So,
And there's no mesh or nothing in it. When we cut it to cross there, there's nothing in it.
need to be a lot of steel.
Yeah.
Them things are heavy.
Yeah, you can actually see the concrete moving when he drives in. So.
Sure.
Did get with Cliff before he retired, back earlier this summer. We're talking about pouring that concrete around that generator. I need to check with them and see where that's at. I know they had a big concrete job this summer they were working on.
Is that a generator at juvenile?
Yeah. They were gonna pour a concrete pad around it to work on it, to get to it, so we weren't walking in mud. It's like 4 foot wide by about 20 foot long. So,
Windows, doors, Carnegie's, the doors are pretty well seen their lifetime. They're starting to rust. It's coming through them. Door hinges are breaking. The only way to repair them is tear the frame out and put new frames and doors in. Same way with the window frames. They're starting to rust out. They were steel frames put in there. I don't know why they put steel in, but that was one of those, when the building burnt, they was all donated stuff for that building to get it back up and going quick. And a lot of single pane glass down there too. So we step up to a double pane or even triple pane, we might get our money back quick on energy savings. One thing I forgot to put on there again this year was blowing some more insulation up in that attic. There's only about 6 inches of insulation up in that attic. It should be a lot more than that. No, Pringer. Yeah. I think most places are recommending around an R38, R40, and I don't think we even got maybe an R20 up there. Let's see, Carnegie building is fine. It's pretty well what needs to be done at Pringer. The EMS building is in great shape. HVAC units are all good. Oh, okay. These kitchen cabinets, 3-wheel sink, heating department needs to be replaced. Parts are not available anymore. We've repaired as much as we can with that. Windows, doors, driveways. The only thing I don't have on there, and it may be on, is where they'd sit in the detention area to watch the kids. Needs to be probably rebuilt and replaced. It's falling apart. We put enough screws in it. It's got more screws in it than it wouldn't right now. Flooring needs to be replaced down there. It's all VCT tile, and that tile is down almost to the concrete now.
You said you had one room with carpet that needs to have tile in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes. And I do agree with him on that.
Tile or vinyl?
Just do a vinyl flooring, vinyl planking like we've been doing at the other places. It's easy to take care of.
Like out of health?
Yeah.
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 It seems to have held up well.
Yeah, it has. It has held up real well. And it alleviates some maintenance work too, as far as stripping and re-waxing and everything else too, which, you know, stripping, it takes you a day. Then you gotta seal it, that's another day. Then you gotta 3 or 4 coats of wax. You know, there's 3 more days to keep people off of it. That's hard to do at a lot of our buildings. Schepkers, you know, that was something that Bill wanted, was the paint the paneling out there to a different color. That's, you know, $5,500. That was for them to come and deglaze it, repaint it. Rooftops, won't even talk about that right now. Public Works, that needs flooring and painting. VC out there is gone too. That back garage, what we did 2 years ago, or has it been 3 now, where we replaced all the garage doors on the back side of the main building, repaired all the rusted structures, steel. That's what needs to be done at that other building out there, is starting to do the same thing with the doors and stuff.
What's causing that, you think?
I think it's just water coming off the trucks during the wintertime when it melts off. I would have built a little short wall before we would have put the steel on it. Come in with a little 1-foot wall, then put the building on top of that instead of running the steel all the way to the floor. would saved a lot of that wear and tear on them buildings.
But that shouldn't have any effect on the garage doors, you think, does it?
Well, they've got steel on the bottom of them. They're the older style, not the new style that's got the enclosed.
I see.
That's the new style we're using, like we used at EMS, and it's got more of a, it's encapsulated. The steel's on the inside where water and stuff really can't get to it. And it's got a thicker rubber stripping on the bottom, keep it up off the floor a little more. Adam Street, nothing right now. Old jail, just leaving it there. Annex, nothing till we figure out what we're gonna do with this. Which I don't see us moving anytime soon, so just let it ride the way it is. Go back up, I think I missed a building. Health building, the only thing that needs to be done out there is, and we knew it going into the building, needed to be repainted. Some of the nails that were used on the siding are popping back out. They should have been a stainless steel with a ring on it. They just use regular galvanized nails. Just have to reset some nails, and some of the finish trim on it should have flashing and stuff put on it. And you go out there, you can see where water is deteriorating some of the trim work, and then just repaint it. Rough coat. The rough cost I had before we moved to the building was right around $80,000, and that was not fixing any of the trim work or anything like that. So that's where I came up with. I don't know if we'll spend all that or not. And then the other thing is, she's got 3 high bay lights out there that they're 150 watt sodiums. I'd like to change those out to LEDs to save us some energy, and plus trying to get that ballast and light kit for them is getting very, very, very expensive. The last one I bought was almost $900, so it would pay for themselves in a couple of years.
We still get rebates?
I'd have to look, but they're coming out with a new, I just saw her yesterday, and should have asked her about some new rebates coming out. I saw something that they got a new list coming up. I use all the rebates I can get.
Yeah.
Other than that, that will finish that building. Probably won't have to do anything unless something major happens to it. Should be good for another 10, 15 years before we have to really put any money into that building. Same way with Pringer, if we do the windows, doors, tuck point it, insulate it, fix the concrete and asphalt, we're probably looking at another 10, 15 years before we have to do anything there again. And that completes another building. EMS will be completed. There's really nothing we have to do out there. We've done most of it already. I should say Schefter's building. And that just leaves the big budget items like the courthouse, this building, and what we're gonna do. If we're gonna keep the health, I don't know if we've had anybody interested in that, the old health building or not.
We got the plans back,
Yeah, I
and
got 'em.
Bowman had those, so,
Really, don't foresee anything major at the jail right now. The list is getting smaller from when I started 9 years ago, so it's a good thing and a bad thing. Because we'll be looking at redoing a lot of stuff coming up that we've already done. We'll be looking at pressure washing and sealing the courthouse probably in another 5 to 6 years again. It's gonna need boilers. Those boilers over there are 21 or 22 years old now. Average life is 25 to 30 if you're lucky. So we're looking at replacing boilers before long. How long the old elevator runs over there before we have to replace it. Rooftops at the jail, VAV boxes at the jail before long. And that's about where we're at. Any questions?
Do we have courthouse electrical and plumbing and HVAC on here?
Yes. And that's a rough number.
Well, it's not on this, in this book, it's in here.
Yeah, it wasn't an A priority, it was B. So, all that's in the book is the A's.
Electrical switchgear over there is from the mid-50s. Parts are no longer available. If they go boom, you're looking anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to get the switchgear here. A lot of those panels over there are overloaded. 'Cause, you know, in the 50s, they didn't have refrigerators, printers, and microwaves, and all that in every office. Plumbing. We've already, over the years, we've had to cut floors and replace cast iron pipe already. So it's just a matter of time before it goes. HVAC, most of those units were put in 72, 73. They're at the end of their lives as far as getting parts for. It's hard to get, you can find parts. A lot of them we gotta make and order the longer shafts for the fan motors, cut the shafts off, make them fit. And there's no controls left on them either. They're either wide open or wide closed. So there's potential for energy savings there.
So Kristen, in the book, you have 12,475,550. That's from all revenues from the half-cent capital improvement sales tax.
Right, so that's current revenue for next year plus carry forwards for the whole thing. So that's
Okay.
85% of that's road and bridges portion. Over 85% actually, because they were holding money to do business 50 and stuff, so their carry forward this year is fairly large. So 3.2 is the total for the 15% portion.
And go to the bottom of this spreadsheet
So,
here.
then it's like 1.87, 15%. It's, and you're saying it's even less than that is what we've got.
We have 3.2 total for that budget, including the revenue coming in next year. For the 15% side.
Okay.
What's listed on 112 is just the A's.
That was total.
I'll give you a total of all of that.
If you do everything on that paper, you're probably looking at 15.
But from the sales tax, we usually get about 0.87 million, under $1 million bucks.
Yeah,
For
it's
your
usually around
15% of
900,000.
5.5 or 6
It's right at $1 million right now, $1,045,000. The projection for this year, for the 15% side of it.
And that is included in this 3.2 million
Yes.
budget that you said, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
What's the columns? L?
Huh? What's the columns?
Yeah, is that what you're budgeted for next year?
No, this is just Craig's spreadsheet here. So he's got priorities A through D.
L's a cost estimate.
Yeah. L's the cost, just a cost estimate.
Okay, then what's in?
Total square foot of the building.
Oh, yes, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't get numbers to add up.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's, courthouse is 47,000 square foot roughly, give or take 100 square foot.
You wanted to budget 6.5 to 7.5 mil for electric.
Well, that's for electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, and carpet. That's just a rough number. Depending on what you get into when we start tearing stuff out, what we're gonna find. Just like when we did the windows, what we were hoping to find and what we did find were two different stories. Absolutely. A lot of that's got brick and mortar on the backside of it, up against the stone. And I have a feeling once we start opening up walls, we're gonna be redoing some brick and mortar.
You remember when the bathroom overflowed and Jim Wishman went up there to try to get to the pipe? And those walls are solid. And then where we figured the pipe would be, it wasn't, but it's all galvanized. It's gonna be,
Buried in the concrete.
yeah, it's gonna be a bear.
It's gonna be, it's good, that'll be probably a good 2-year project. Just have to start on one floor and go. Basically, it'll be a complete renovation. Time we get walls opened up and repaired and replastered. I bet it'd be a 2-year project. I see smoke coming out of Jeff's head.
No, I'm not thinking that hard. These are just presentations today.
Yeah.
Right.
But we
don't
got
have a-
Carnegie pretty much done except for the elevator.
Carnegie's pretty well
And then
done.
if you get Health Department done and Pringer Center done, then we got 3 buildings that we shouldn't
Probably touch. for
we shouldn't have to do anything with.
At least 8 to 10 years for sure.
Yeah,
Unless something major goes wrong.
yeah. And then we need to look at what, yeah, it's, then we go to the big bucks.
Have other questions for Greg?
No.
No? Thanks, Greg.
No problem.
Thanks, Greg.
See you tomorrow.
Thank Greg.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, Greg.
Who we got?
You want to take a break for a minute, or you want to keep going?
Who's next?
Larry. Oh, Kristen.
Me?
Kristen.
Do you need a break? Is that what you're saying?
I do make the pee.
So,
We got that on, we got that recorded,
if
so.
you want to take a quick break,
Occasionally, I do have to pee.
Wait till you get over
I have found that out. While they're on these, I got the world's smallest bladder.
More often.
Yeah, I was talking to the health gal there on the way out.
We need to sit down and really figure out what we need to do. We haven't really listed with a realtor. I've shown, Greg and I have shown it 3 times. You can see whenever somebody called, it used to be, and we go show it. We actually had one potential that ended up buying that health building on Oliver and Ice Street, across from the
I put an item on the agenda next to
first
Jerry.
one.
Next week, per you, Steven Stark sent me a court judgment for one of his estates, and it's to get the surplus tax funds from tax sale. So you all have to transfer that.
Okay.
Just so you know.
No, we need to sell it, because we just haven't pursued it, but, you know, Bowman's had it, Lila Stark had somebody interested, no, we've never listed it, say we need to list it, and it's, you know, but we're telling them, should we put together? set up, the way it's set up, you could actually have two different businesses, which is what they had when like Skelton was there. You can come.
I don't know about that, Sam, you wanna do lunch still? Harry, you're invited too.
I don't. Well, it's just not 10, so we get
Well,
Kristen and Larry done,
Yeah,
and then what are we back here at?
2.
2.
we don't have to order in if.
No, I just, well, see what Jeff and them wanna do, but,
Well, Chris said he didn't care one way or another.
yeah, I don't.
Let's see what Jeff says. Might wanna
Go
just get
over
out
to
of
the
here.
store and
But
check.
Chris wants to know if we can do some other people for
We
tomorrow.
are, so.
I don't think you can do tomorrow's people, but we can talk about other,
Other bars.
yeah,
MRI on my back and.
like 127 and those kinds of things aren't on here at all, so we can do some of those.
You just wanna break and get out of
So
here.
they call, they call you.
I don't care.
So we go home and here's,
We'll have time.
you know,
Yeah.
radiology, and I'm like, you know, I know, HIPAA, yeah, so I need to call them and schedule, because my back is not, Kristen's been sitting on it. Yeah, just trying to scrape money. And I think a portion
Yeah, I
of
was supposed to be
that-
mom and left there.
No
God, we'll
worries.
see ya.
Nowhere have I seen a portion 9/11 on there, which is a.
No, if we get
quick
done by
response.
11:30, I'll go get lunch with the family if I can get done in time, but if not, then I'm not worried about it.
You feeling okay, Larry?
Yeah. Not 100%, yeah.
Ooh, I like this. I like Harry. That's
Well,
a-
you-
Starting all early.
So what do you still got?
Works for me.
Some stomach issues, if I eat a full meal, like.
Hmm.
No, I made copies and handed them out. I put one there.
Shit.
Shit, that's.
Yeah.
Have you gotten your taste? Can you taste? You still can't
Nope,
taste?
I still can't taste it.
I never lost mine.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Does it make you eat less? If you can't taste or smell, does it make you eat less?
No, I still eat the same. You can feel it in your head, you're like, oh, this is gonna be great. And you're like, oh.
Morning.
Hi, Larry.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Larry can sit and wait.
But I asked you to come early.
Yeah.
Do you
I
want to
can-
go first?
No,
Mine won't take very long, hopefully.
I won't either.
I read yours. Thanks for sending that ahead of time.
Well, I figured it'd get me in and out of here quicker.
Do you have something to pass out there?
I just sent him,
Here's what we need.
Stop licking your fingers.
Well, kiss some hair.
Gretchen yells at me about that.
If it kills it on your hands, it might as well kill it in your gut.
I got some better tasting stuff than that.
Hey, he's got some copies. How many copies do you need?
I don't know.
Is that what you emailed?
That's what I emailed to
I
you.
don't need a copy. I've got the email.
I just sent you.
And I did bring candy bars.
I don't know, the
What did I
clerk
do
deserves a
with my
copy.
lunch? Oh.
I'll take one if you got
Thanks
an
for your
extra.
encouragement.
If you don't,
I'll have that tomorrow.
I'll take one if you got an
It
extra.
looks like we're gonna get done in time. Once.
Okay,
What happened to my,
we doing you, Kristen, or we're gonna do?
no, Larry can go first.
Okay,
I'm here for the duration, so you can go first.
okay.
Although I've lost my. The next time.
Mine, basically, I've sent you all an email, You're just talking about the salary line issue. I think it's my understanding that, first off, Kristen she made a mistake. And she didn't include the $3,000 that the collector gets paid by the city of Jefferson in the salary line, because that goes through the county's payroll. And then she was anticipating that when we replaced Connie as our lead supervisor, that we'd start at the base salary for that position, which was 36. But you all had agreed to allow me to start Candace at 39.5, which was actually less than what Candace was making, our county were making.
as lead supervisor, and previously Candace was the chief deputy for Judy in her quarters office, so, which was a very good hire for us. She's catching on really fast. So, and alls I'm asking is that if you put that, of course, you pretty much have to put that much back in. That would make it at 187, 670, 170 is, I figured, that'd be ballpark, I guess. I'm asking you to still allow my request, which was 189, what the hell was it?
189,840.
189,840, which would allow me a little room for some merit for my staff, which I don't think there's any question about the quality of work they do and their commitment. We were actually, this time of year, we have 6 people all the time. That would include several part-time people. We did a week or almost 2 weeks with just 3 people running the office because I was out with COVID. Jean Ann was out with COVID, and Glenda, our part-time person, was out sick with flu or something. Turned out she got tested but didn't have COVID. So we actually kept up and have actually collected more money so far this year than we did the same time last year. So that's pretty simple. That's what my request is. Basically, the only thing I'm asking for is about a $2,168.30 increase in the payroll line to allow for some merit pay.
I don't have any questions.
Any questions? You sent that to us before, so I think Kristen agreed with them, so there's, I didn't have any questions above that.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All righty.
Oh, we're glad you're back. We need you this time of year.
I'm really concerned about the last couple weeks of December because we're ahead of where we were last year, but we're not near or far enough ahead that we're going to have a smaller crowd. So I do have some concerns about that.
Still do it online, right?
Yeah, but and that's up, as of right now, that's up about $500,000 in payments compared to November of last year.
Yeah.
Really pushes the Dropbox and online and all of that.
Yeah, for
Well,
socially
I
distancing.
ran a pretty good size ad for the first week that tax bills went out, listing all the different payment methods. And I guess I'll probably do that again the last couple weeks.
Do them in color with your photo. Devil made me say that.
It's okay. I'll remember saying.
Waiting or holding out, or gonna do it online later at the last minute, or not gonna be able to pay it.
Yeah, but when they tried to do it the last minute, we had the one who did it on the 31st, and then the bank was on
Well,
January 2nd. Yeah, need something to do it early if they're gonna do it online.
Yeah, they don't know about that at-home banking, how that works, so.
Well, we're at the end of the month now, some people, including yours truly, waits till the end of the month to do end of the month bills, and that's when I sit down and do them, and I'll do mine online well, I'll probably bring mine in here, because I'm here, but I won't stand in line at Dropbox, so. But the other ones we do online, and I haven't paid them yet, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we do need to stress that.
And it's so convenient to do it online.
And we're kind of getting out in the hallway because Judy's not letting anybody in her office, so people are trying to transact business over there. At the same time, we have customers that are coming in to pay, and we're trying to do the social distancing thing. But, that kind of causes a backup out there, so.
Yeah, and you're gonna be busy.
Can they call and make an appointment then if they have to come in and they have some kind of
Well, with
underlying condition and?
With Judy, yes,
Well, I mean, even with your office,
With-
if somebody's,
Well, nobody ever gets it, nobody comes inside our office, so, but making an appointment is, when you have walk-in people, it's hard.
yeah, I know what you're saying, but it's still, if somebody's gotta come in for, they have a question, or they have to have something taken care of, but they just,
Do you have a drive-by drop-off or
No, we don't.
could,
There's
It's got
one out on
the-
the front,
the
right into
one
our
front.
office. I
Right.
mean, they have to come to the front of the
right,
building.
but I mean,
Which
could
is
there
still
be a
quick.
time like, Steve, had some, when people had COVID or whatever, and they came up here to vote, that we could get somebody to go out and grab their payment from them or something? Not necessarily give them a receipt, but just, they could drive up and hand the payment and we could mail a receipt, or, I don't know, I'm just thinking, trying to think outside the box
I
here a
mean,
little bit.
obviously, I would go out and do that. We actually had a lady that was standing outside and called, and she wanted us to, and this was when we only had 3 people in the office, and she wanted us to come out, get a receipt, take it in, process it, and take it back out to her. And I told her we just didn't have the staff to do that.
Right.
I'd come get it from her, and we'd mail her the receipt. Well, she didn't want to wait, and at that time, there wasn't even anybody in the lobby, so she actually ended up coming in and paying and getting out real quick. But certainly I'd go out and get a payment from somebody, but we're not going to process it right away, because when you have people in line, people waiting at the window, so.
Right.
We'll do anything to accommodate them that we can.
Yeah, I think stressing paying online or putting it in the deposit, and that night deposit is probably the most efficient way for people that don't want to come in.
That's
But you
correct.
still have to come in the lobby to put it in the drop box.
No,
right?
No, it's on the front
it's
of the building.
outside. It's, so they can pull up in that 15-minute parking, or even pull up in the lot there, and it's like it's
Like a
from
night
the bank
deposit bank,
days,
yeah.
when this was
It's a
City
night deposit
National,
box.
it was their night deposit box.
And it goes right into a little vault that's
Yeah.
in the hallway there, so.
I used to drop it in there way back when.
they can bring their hand sanitizer that we're mailing out with them. Clean their hands, good to go.
Yeah.
And we tried to do social protecting at the windows. We put dividers like that between each of the windows and put hand sanitizer at each of the windows, so.
Did you have people running into them? I saw you have tape on them now.
But yes, we had people run into them.
You shouldn't laugh at that, but I could picture myself doing it. That's when I paid my tax bill, I got paid for some plexiglass I broke off the damn wall too now. All righty.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
We're done then.
I always appreciate your support.
So funny.
Yeah, I think we should go to lunch early.
Last one before lunch, right?
What
That's
page,
right.
what page are you on, ma'am?
25. So the only big change you see is, I'm asking for an additional deputy auditor. We have gotten to the point where we cannot keep up with 2 people. I gave you guys some stats there in the office of some of the things that run through. It doesn't tell the whole picture because there's lots of things that we do that we can't quantify with a number. And the biggest thing is accounts payable. So even though that number doesn't look like it's increasing that much, we have gotten way more efficient with the software over the years. To where that number looks about the same, but the number of invoices going through is really way more than what it was before. It's just not counting them separately because they get entered together. And fixed assets is another big one that is really taking time. We are adding assets every year, but not disposing of the same number. So you see the number of fixed assets that we add each year is getting larger. Last year was the first year we went over 500 individual assets added, and that's only everything over $500. And we're not disposing of them as quickly, so it's more that we have to track throughout the year. we are only a two-person office, and I spend a lot of my time in other offices and working on special projects. And this is too much for one person to try to keep up with if I'm not there. It's just too much. We're missing things, we're making mistakes. We don't have the time to go and do individual audits because all we can keep up with is the day-to-day stuff. It's just too much for two people. We've gotten big enough that two people can't handle the workload. So I'm asking for that additional person. And my capital request goes along with that, so I am willing to put that person in my office with me, but I would need another desk and a phone and all of the things that come with that additional employee, another computer. And we will make it work in the space that we have if we have to for the time being. But that's my request, and it is one of the 6 people that were included in the proposed budget. You guys have questions or things you want to know?
Can that person assist Debbie?
Some of our stuff overlaps. I mean, we do kind of work well together. I do see that there could possibly be more work instead of less with an HR person. Just the manual and things and updating that would pull me away, and this person would have more time to do the day-to-day. I mean, we do a lot of spreadsheets and calculations and things that take away. CARES is another beast that hopefully will get better, but this year has exacerbated the problem with all of the additional work that CARES has created. I know that we did contract with BKD, but there's still a lot of work that we do internally with each of those approved requests and copying and tracking and making sure we have all the documentation and getting those paid correctly. I mean, just because they're reviewing the application before it gets approved does not change any of the work that's involved to get those paid and processed through and tracked correctly and making sure that we have all the documentation we'll need when we're audited later. And down at the bottom, you'll see like number of grants we track, number of bank statements we get per month, number of departmental reports we review per month. I mean, there's a lot of things as well that don't, like I said, get quantified. We spend a good portion of this time of the year down in the collector's office, making sure that everything is running smoothly with that amount of money that's coming in and his bank statements getting approved. We spend time in the sheriff's department helping them through things. I mean, EMS is another big one. Matt's requests sometimes take additional time to calculate and process through his GEMT that we added, even though we have somebody that's helping us with those reports, still compiling all of that information and sending it to them. I have one on my desk right now that we do annually in a report for the Census Bureau. It takes about 6 to 15 hours is what the form says, but we do that one annually. And I'm not so sure that our outside auditors are going to completely come back to the way they were doing things before. So it may be virtual audit going forward. So it creates a lot more time and effort on our side than it does on theirs, just because to go through a disbursement testing, they need a copy of the invoice, a copy of the approval, a copy of a PO, a copy of the contract. All of that creates, 7 different documents that I have to save and title and then send to them. Whereas before, they could sit down at the desk next to you and sit there and watch as you click through it and review. And if they needed a copy, you'd only print out what they needed. So the virtual audit is a great tool. I mean, we have the capability to do it, but it's more time consuming on our side of things.
What were the other 6 people? So we had deputy auditor, environmental, public health specialist, and then did you have nurse practitioner in there as well?
We did not have
No.
nurse practitioner.
Okay.
We had the additional marshal. We had a human resource person. We had a legal secretary up in the prosecutor's office, and we had an additional maintenance staff person.
Okay. That was 6.
Yeah, I think nurse practitioner right now is something that would probably wait till 2022.
Well, to put it in perspective, if you were out in the real world and you were looking at the county itself, the sheriff's department's big enough to be its own company and would have its own accounting staff. And between Debbie's office and ours, we have 4 people that take, EMS could be its own with its own accounting staff. And, you know, the health department at times could be its own with its, definitely the collector. So we do a lot of work between our 4 people that as we consistently grow and get bigger as a county, we just can't keep up with the amount of work.
That's why I was asking if your employee could also work with Debbie, but
So is that something that needs to be addressed across the different departments and elected officials on how they do things that could make it easier for your office?
Well, I definitely think that there's some review of the accounting system and how we process things through that could make life easier for everyone. There's a lot of mass approval going on, and that review is getting missed. So there are a lot of issues that get to us that should have been fixed before they get to us, and we spend our time tracking down, hey, you don't have the right attachment, or hey, you have sales tax on this invoice. You know, we spend a lot of our time chasing things that should not be making it to our office.
Okay.
So
Well, that's-
errors that should be caught before they get to us, we are chasing our tails trying to get there.
So I'll just pick on EMS since they're not here, but that's, you know, they got people that are entering stuff, so it's something that we've got to sit down and go through things and get it entered correctly to save people time. The sheriff's not here either, so we can pick on him, you know, if they've got stuff, and they are big departments, so. And then you probably both look at things a little differently too. You make an account up for certain things that maybe they don't see it as where that thing should be.
Well, that's why we really tried in the budget to put notes behind things so that they can look and see. I think a lot of it is too, we've lost a lot of staff that, like Joyce, who has that history and knowledge. So nothing against the new person and that they can't learn, but it's a big learning curve to get to the point where Joyce was.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of that changeover in staff even since we implemented the new software of trying to get them up to speed and where they need to be. I mean, losing the accounts payable person in the clerk's office this year was huge. I mean, not that the new person doesn't do a good job. It's just a big learning curve of all the things that the prior person did without thinking that now we have to get her to learn how to do and do well so that when it gets to us, we're not having as many issues. So it's all of it combined is just too much. And like I said, there's more and more of my time in other offices and helping other people to where these day-to-day things in our office and approvals just aren't getting done by one person. We're working weekends, we're working nights, we're working from home all the time. It's just a lot.
Yep, we met and talked about it, so. I don't disagree, y'all got a lot to play with and a lot of turnover, so getting this stuff entered right the first time just would be a huge help. And if everybody's on the same page, but we don't have a training program that we do that with people and sit down and go, okay.
So we do train the new people. I mean, that's another piece of this that's hard to quantify. If there's problems with the software, it's coming to us to fix. We're the ones dealing with BSNA. We're tracking down those issues. We're trying to find the workarounds. So another piece of the puzzle that doesn't get quantified on paper is the time spent doing that stuff as well.
So would that be somebody that necessarily be under you or would be under the commission? Basically, it would be a liaison between the auditor and all the other offices. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know that that's gonna help us. I mean, it has to be someone that works for me to approve at my level. It has to be someone under me that's doing fixed assets. I mean, those are duties of my office. I can't
But I mean, you can still
delegate
do those duties, but if this takes that stuff off your lap, I mean, that's like stuff that I do. There's certain finishing things that I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna allow somebody else to do, even if I'm training to do it. I mean, when I leave, it's gonna have my name on it. This has your name on it when you approve stuff, so. They're just making sure it gets to you in approvable form, per se. I'm not saying we gotta do it one way or the other if we do it. I was just throwing that one out there, so just kind of thinking out loud. But you prefer and think it should be under the auditor?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I got time, we can argue longer if you want to. I wasn't really arguing, I was just throwing it out there for discussion.
Oh, looking at
so
options, yeah.
We'll argue tomorrow.
Yeah, looking at options.
Tomorrow, what do we got on there tomorrow? Is tomorrow arguing day?
No, that's Thursday.
Thursdays?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so, you guys have other questions for me? I mean, I don't think there was a lot of changes otherwise to my budget. It's the person and the stuff that goes along with them.
All right now.
So we have a little bit of time. If you guys, we can't do the people that are scheduled for tomorrow or Thursday, but we do have some budgets in the book that are not, they're under you already that, we could talk about if you want.
Let's get as much done as we can. It's not
Okay, we can
10:30
talk
yet,
about
so.
122 if you want, or is that?
You're on there, but we could do 127, we can do domestic shelter, we can do, any of those ones that fall kind of in the general category.
Look at 127.
We gotta fix that clock.
It's stuck.
Yeah, it's stuck. We have bad luck with clocks in here.
Put it over on the other side. I take care of the big clock, I'm putting it on.
Is that a battery?
Chris and Harry's side.
It's been stuck on that since we came this morning. Yeah, so if it's battery, it probably needs a new battery. If it's,
Trying to link my fingers through my map. Doesn't work very well.
I'm gonna see if it moves first.
although I got my fancy phone here that has the time on it.
What do you always call that?
That's my fancy store-bought phone.
So page.
It's Beverly Hillbillies.
45.
Fancy phone things.
You weren't even born when Beverly Hillbillies.
46, sorry. So general account. This is kind of general funds catch-all for the things that don't fall into another department. So this is where stock insurance, financial institution tax, local use tax, some of our other fees that we collect, is where our retiree insurance in and out rolls through, office supply in and out. It's also where we do economic development, extension services, animal shelter, professional services. So those are probably the big ones, and this is also where the capital improvements and general funds are. So I did get a letter from Extension, they did not change their request. Same thing with Soil and water conservation. Animal shelter, I have not seen.
Page is that?
I did-
46,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
else Didn't go far.
Yeah.
I did get a letter from the city on 911, but I haven't seen one on animal shelter. And I can, if you want to see what's in some of those lines, I can pull up the notes behind it as well.
So you didn't get one from Extension?
I did get one
You
from
did.
Extension, I
Oh.
didn't get one from the city on the animal shelter.
I misunderstood you then, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Extension did not change their request this year.
Okay, that's what you said, then you got it, but they didn't change
Yep.
anything, sorry.
So I know a big one that's kind of been talked about is economic development. I did not change what was in there from before. I did not obviously put in bicentennial or Port Authority grant match, but I left the amounts that were in there last year for the other groups that we contract with. I do know there's been some talk with the chamber of things changing. I don't know if that number needed to change or not change. I didn't have anything to support changing it, but that may be one that you all need to look at and decide if that's the correct amount or not.
I need to get the new EDO on the agenda, probably for next week. They can come make a presentation.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna get something scheduled for that.
Are we having budget meetings next week too, or?
We skip next week, and our next one after this week is the 14th, I think,
Okay.
which is the following Monday.
So I'll try to get them here on the 7th or to make their pitch.
The 8th, I mean, if they want to do it during a regular commission meeting, it's fine. Or the 10th. However you want it.
Oh,
It's fine.
are we meeting on the 10th, you said, or?
Yeah, there's a meeting scheduled. I mean, that could change, I guess, with the CARES, I still think we're probably okay with that meeting.
I think they were open, it's just, I mean, you guys have a preference when they come, or you want them on Tuesday, or you want them on Thursday, or?
See when they're available.
Yeah,
I don't have a preference.
Okay. I'll ask them, but, so it'll be Tuesday or Thursday and get it on the agenda.
Just let us know which one.
So y'all tell me if there's something there you want to talk about, or you want to see what makes up the number.
So obviously you got, capital improvements in there at 3 million.
Yep.
Are you just spending down some of the
Yeah. so we-
contingency?
Yeah, we have a very healthy reserve in there.
Is that the cash forward and the contingency, is that kind of the offset there?
Yep.
Okay.
I think our reserve policy is that contingency in there should be closer to like 6 million. So we have a very healthy reserve in there.
So, just one thing I just noticed, but, so we have expense for parking of about $12,000. And we have revenue for parking for about $12,000.
So, yes.
I know Jeff's worked on that diligently, but.
haven't gotten any more emails lately. So.
That situation changed to be about level when we took over that parking on Adams. Before we were paying the city to park employees. We kind of offset that with taking on additional parking, but we're currently renting that out to the library. So you could eliminate both sides
No.
almost, no, because we will still have the church parking lot.
And that's about eight
Back
hundred and
here.
fifty a month.
How much?
850.
So that one will not go away.
That's behind the jail there where the marshals park.
And we've tried to purchase that property before. City wasn't interested, but we can approach that again if you guys want.
I guess they have to have it, not necessarily for the parking, but just for the law enforcement and different things.
Well, coming out of
Right.
the Sally Port there, they almost have to have that parking lot open to get out of there the way
If
they
we could
should.
get that purchased, then that would help.
When's the last time we approached them about buying it?
4 years ago, maybe.
Because I don't ever remember.
You don't ever remember? No, it didn't seem like it was that long ago, so.
But maybe been more like
And we
6
might,
years.
so we might approach them about buying it. Because it,
I think the last time their request for purchase was a little on the high side. I think we were 2 billion.
oh,
It was
So,
kind of ridiculous.
yeah. it
no. Jeez.
So if you have better relations.
Gee, I don't think so. Yeah, it's kind of like when we bought the lot from the Baptist convention, that was,
And we kind of used to share that lot with the church, and we have now taken it over completely.
Kick that out.
now before we pay 2 million, we'll just keep renting it, but,
I mean, it may be different now. There's different
yeah,
administrations down there, so.
that's, oh, God, trying to get that late.
Are you talking about buying a lot right behind them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not for,
So, I don't know who we talked to, that's the thing, is you gotta figure out who we talked to on that. Because I don't think we talked to the decision makers, and we never.
I thought at some point
We got
we
an
got a
estimate.
letter and a dollar amount from them on city letterhead.
But is
It's
that
been
from-
years.
Is that from administration, or is that from who?
I thought it was city
makes
administrator.
decisions?
Yeah, I thought it was city administrator who gave it to us.
Last time I looked, they don't get to vote on anything, though.
Yeah. I think their concern is the lost revenue on their side for the parking lot itself.
Is that what, how much was it?
I thought it was $2 million.
yeah, there's no way, there's no way.
I remember it being an exorbitant amount, but I don't remember it
That's-
being that much.
And maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
That's a tenth of an acre.
Yeah, that's,
One, two of an acre. Well, we can see what we think it's worth and make an offer. And
Yeah.
go with it then. If you're serious about looking at it.
just figure out how long it would take us to pay it back.
We need to really be able to control what happens back there, because with that Sally Port and sheriff's van coming in and out of there.
Well, and I think if you have other plans for doing something there, you're gonna want that fixed as well. I don't know.
Sooner or later, that jail's gonna fall in. It's, I'll talk to the city. That's a historic spot. That's where the first jail in Jefferson City was. So that was the first county jail in Jeff City.
You guys have any other questions or things in general accounts?
Nope, I sure don't.
So we're gonna quickly look at a few, domestic shelter, which is on 38. It's an in and an out, it's fees that the recorder, and I think the court, collect that, RACS currently applies for, and you may have had another group apply. Okay, so really that one's just an in and an out, we collect the fees, they submit, an application, and we pay it back out to them. So not a lot to change there, but you guys take a look and let me know if there's something you see.
So they're gonna, so in the past, we've had a balance, and they're gonna apply for all of it.
It's kind of a timing issue, so they submit two, times during the year, and some of it we carry over, because I think it's like March and September or something, so that's the difference. It does balance out to be nothing, but there's a slight timing issue as far as when.
Okay.
So this year I did, and they're not on the list individually, so let's take a look at pretrial release program, on page 66. So we had talked in the past, and I finally made the decision to split out pretrial release into its own budget. So the employees and the costs that the courts told me, have been pulled out into
67.
its own budget this year, so no longer combined with the marshals.
No revenue to offset.
$10,000 is about what they've been collecting, so.
No money from the federal prisoner reimbursement.
And so I did separate out their office supplies and cell phones to track, but the only thing in pretrial release program is the actual shackling or monitoring costs that we pay by contract, so that 42,000 is that cost.
I'd still like to see more revenue coming from that.
Yeah.
Get the pretrial release and get the benefit of being able to keep your job and stuff, that you should get some kind of reimbursement from it.
I know there are certain people that pay, that's where the 10,000 comes from, but I don't know what how it's determined who pays and who doesn't and how much they pay.
So maybe we need to
A lot
ask.
of them don't have money the way it is, otherwise they would have bailed out of jail in the first place, but I just-
You gotta look at though what it's saving us if these people were in jail,
Right.
what the cost would be, because I would bet you it's,
$35 or $40 a day.
yeah, I would bet you it's a lot more
And you're
than,
getting 75 a day from federal prisoners, so you're saving 30.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time,
I see you just letting the money just grow in the sheriff's line over there. Federal prisoner revenues, $1.4 million. I mean, when I was was up here, we were losing over $1 million a year on housing prisoners. And that wasn't any federal prisoners, that was just our prisoners, and we had them all over the state.
We probably need to see if there is some way we could increase revenue, but I don't.
I mean, it's not gonna be a significant amount.
No.
but If,
Well, so the 300,000 is coming out of GR. The revenues are going into law enforcement.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have the revenues if you didn't have the expense. I mean, if you didn't have somebody monitoring the program, if you didn't have somebody, you know, working the program to get some of these nonviolent offenders out and on monitoring or just on checking in. Not everybody's on ankle monitor. I mean, some of them check in daily.
Just
then
get a phone call or
Yeah,
whatever,
I mean, they
right.
check in daily and then they get to twice a week, and you know, as long as they're doing what they need to do, then. But you got to have somebody that's monitoring that. So, you know, I mean, there's a direct
So
correlation to the
we're-
two.
We're saving the money.
Yeah.
Of not having half of them.
Mhm.
We already have people that are working in the jail, so we're saving 3 meals a day, so it saves $6 a day.
Right.
But then we're backfilling with federal prisoners, which is smart on our end.
Right.
And getting that revenue. So ultimately, who we're saving money is the state. Because if some of these people do end up having to do some time at some point, the 6 months that they were on pretrial release and waiting for their trial or whatever, they would have been in jail, and the state's not
true.
going to pay it.
True. So I mean, you know, if they're an offender and they're guilty and they serve at least one day over in the state corrections, then we can back charge for all the days that we
But
house
get
them.
nothing if they get time served in the county jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I mean, we're saving the state money, really.
Well, and we're saving ourselves money
Yeah.
too.
Because, I mean, if you keep going at the rate we're going, the jails will be full, we'll have to add more on. It's a concept of trying to get people out, being back in the community, working, you know, that kind of concept versus not filling up our jails.
Right.
And not building more jails.
Trying to help them be a productive citizen. I
We're
mean,
not
they've
filling
been-
up our jails. Ours wasn't full.
Well, we can be though, because
Well, it was.
Howard
It
County that is
It wasn't full.
because of, I think, personnel
We
with
still had 10 beds for federal,
COVID, so they're putting their prisoners in Cooper County Jail.
That's
or-
because they're
You're-
getting more money to house a federal prisoner, and that's what we
No,
were doing too.
they're doing
We had
it because of-
federal prisoners
they're
here, and
doing
we
it-
were sending other prisoners to Pettis County.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So-
I,
Because we got more money. We could pay $50 to house ours somewhere else and get $90 and whatever numbers they are. These are,
Right.
yeah.
so,
Right. We could house ours for 50 and get 75 for federals.
I think we're kind
so
of,
our
a-
jails weren't full.
we're kind of
They-
a trendsetter in a state with our pretrial release program.
It's true, but so everybody that falls under general revenue, I mean, you're just hurting general revenue. So
Yeah.
all the employees that fall under general revenue, and Kristen said that the hardest part about giving raises is general revenue. And so that's the one that's always hard to figure that equal raise across the board. So if you can help out general revenue, if you can recoup some of that money that you're getting, you're just putting it in a different fund. And it's not necessarily law enforcement or not necessarily the jail, but you know, there's gotta be some balance. I mean, general revenue shouldn't have to pay $300,000 to run a program that's generating $1.4 million a year. I mean, it just don't make sense. I mean, yes, that could go away. But I mean, it's typically grown $1.4 million every year. or it's led up to that. And so I'm not saying that you need all $1.4 million, but you sure ought to take at least some of it and help fund the program.
So if you do that, then that program needs to go under where that money's coming from, and they should be in charge of it, or not.
I mean,
Just bring it up for discussion.
Right.
I'm not arguing either side of it.
I mean, so just hypothetically, and I mean, no decisions are being made today, but I mean, so take a third of it and say this is to help run the pretrial program, and let law enforcement have.
Take the 300,000.
Right,
and
yeah.
pay it.
Right, and then let them have the
They
other
still got
million.
their $1,000,001 or whatever.
Right.
So then if you do that though, then they should be in charge of it,
Who should be?
the sheriff. If he's footing the bill for it, shouldn't he be in charge of it?
I mean, you could do it that way, and I'm not saying, I don't know that the sheriff would want to do that, but, I mean, I think it's kind of two different,
Well, I'm not
Two
saying
different
he'd want it
things.
either. He's probably listening right now going,
I'm
shut
sure.
up, officer.
He'll be over.
But if he's gonna give money to general revenue, then he may wanna control how it's done.
right, but I mean,
So-
I think where it's done,
I think it's being done great right now,
Right,
so
I
I'm not
mean,
arguing.
so
that
it's
point.
kind of a intermediary between the courts and law enforcement, and I mean, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, you know, I beat it last year and lost. Anyway, but I mean, I just take some of it. I mean, if you don't wanna take all 300,000, take 100. You know, take 10%, 140,000. I mean, just for administrative costs. I mean, it just helps GR. I mean, obviously, we have some money in GR that Kristen's looking to use it in capital improvement, so, you know, if you had.
You know, if you're gonna talk about my budget, a nice phone call would be nice, guys.
We're just
talking
talking,
about
John.
Well, let's talk then. Taking $300,000 out of my budget to pay for pretrial. I gotta fire somebody. Who do you want me to take it from? Patrol division? The $1.5 million I get from the marshals is already spent. It's part of my revenue. So you want me to pay the $300,000, I'll do it. But I want you to tell me which patrol deputies I gotta let go, or which part of the jail I need to let go.
So how did you do it when you were in the red before then? We didn't fire anybody back then,
What do you
we
mean
had
we was
to-
in the red? Before we got the marshals?
we were,
Before we were getting federal reimbursement.
Well, because Mark Hillinger came to us and said, you gotta find more money or else you're gonna let people go.
Well, we were losing $1 million back then.
There was a lot of things that weren't in his budget that are now. Capital, 911, there were things that we had pulled out of the sheriff, or not put in the sheriff when he was in the red.
we're just having the same argument we had a year ago.
And
And
it's-
then when I brought up if we take some of the money from your account and put in this, then are you gonna want control of the pretrial release? And
Absolutely, and then I'll shut it down.
So.
So this
Well, go in there. I
program,
like the program.
this program isn't ran by me. It's
Right.
ran by the courts.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with me. So you can't give me the program, it needs to stay with the courts. Now, this has been resolved. We talked about it, Kristen, me, and I don't remember who else was in the room. In another year, whenever my sales tax runs out and I go down to the 1.5 million off of my sales tax, I'll actually increase my revenue line, my operational fund, by about 1.5 million. So at that point, if you want to take the U.S. Marshal money out of mine and put it in general revenue, it won't hurt me as bad. It's still going to hurt me, but it won't hurt me as bad. But I still want 66%, 2/3 of the money that you bring in. 1.5 million means I get $1 million of it. You guys get 500,000. 300,000 of it you can put to pretrial, or 350,000, or 500,000, whatever you want. But we can't do this. Every year we talk about how I should pay for the program. If I do that, then I got to fire somebody. So you just need to let me know who you want me to fire. I tried to say that last year, and let everybody understand. Because right now, I have a balanced budget. I'm positive $547. If you come in and say now you have to pay $300,000 to pretrial out of my operations budget, now I have to go back and find $300,000 that I have to cut out of my expenditures, which means the only way to do it is to fire people.
Well, you're talking about shutting down pretrial release if you took it over and.
Well, I just said that to be mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
John, don't be mean.
I know.
Well, we're just kicking it around. We kicked it around last year too.
Yeah, but I thought we killed this last year. I mean, I can't.
We did.
I can't fund it. I can't fund it. Not the way the budget is set up right now. I can't fund it. And it shouldn't be funded by me because it's not my program.
Well,
It's a court program.
Yeah, but you're benefiting from it. The law enforcement fund's benefiting from it though.
Well, then
With
let's-
being able to backfill positions.
Well, if I'm going to fund that, I'm good with that. But then I also need to fund the prosecutors because he has a deferral program, which they don't come to my facility. I need to fund JAC because he also has it to where they don't come to my facility because he intervenes. So there's a lot more organizations that the Cole County Sheriff's Department can fund, I guess.
This is live. People are listening. They're gonna be
I'm
coming to
hoping
you wanting
they're
your money
listening.
now.
I'm hoping they're paying attention.
They're gonna be
GR
coming to you
doesn't
wanting your
fund
money
those.
now.
GR doesn't fund that prosecutor deferral program.
It doesn't matter though. They're still helping. I mean, so what you're saying is only the GR programs I should fund. Everybody else has to do it themselves. Well, if I'm going to do it, if you're going to have me fund the organizations or the entities that are helping the Cole County Sheriff's Department, well, then I need to fund everybody across the board, including the courts. Because Judge Walker and Beadham and Green, soon to be Stumpy, and Judge Joyce, they give people time served all the time and get them out of my facility. So maybe I should help fund them too.
We needed to have them give them one day over at the big house. That way we get reimbursed from the state for the time.
Well, if they'll ever pay for it, yeah. Or that, or the amount of money that the inmates that we have out right now, bids outstanding, bills outstanding.
So I'm just saying that you're having a hard time hiring people and paying them a decent salary. And so how do we, if we can't give GR employees raises, then we don't give the Sheriff's Department employee raises. I mean, so that's kind of the fair and equitable thing to do.
But I think the way they have it figured out right now, they are doing that. I mean, we did it, you said the same thing last year and we were able to give raises.
I realize that.
And I don't think it's fair, truthfully. I don't think it's fair for you to put this on me, saying because of me.
I never said that.
You don't have to say it, it's insinuated. It was told to me on my face.
Not insinuated. Well, we have $9 million in cash in the law enforcement fund. We have $9 million in cash and then $8 million, $8.6 million in contingency, and that fund's been built up because of
How much?
federal prisoners.
And how much contingency does the county owe? How much?
9 million.
So this fixes itself in a year. It fixes itself in a year.
So 2022,
I think that's when well, 2022 when it runs out. Yeah, so in 2 years, it fixes itself. Until then, I mean, if you guys want to take the 300,000 out, I have no problem with that. You just need to be able to explain to the citizens that I'm going to have to let go 6 road deputies, or I'm going to have to let go half the jail staff, and we can start housing prisoners out. And you can't house prisoners out for federal funds because it will cost me more money moving prisoners around for court dates and all that kind of stuff. And plus, whenever you bring more federal prisoners in, whenever they go to the hospital, I got to have 2 gun toters with them. There's a lot more to it than just looking at numbers. You have to look at the totality of circumstances.
I'm not saying that there's an easy answer, John. I'm just saying that you've been able to add personnel because of the revenues that we've received from federal prisoner reimbursement.
Well, I think there's a lot of money that's coming down because of vacant positions too.
Well, that's
I've
probably
never
true.
been full, so
Right.
that money rolls down into cash forward.
Right.
So there's a lot of money that comes there. Now, I have a revenue line of 1.5 million or 1.4 million, I think, this year.
Right.
So I've already used that money. It's used. So we have this conversation every year, where you say I should pay for pretrial. Okay, how do you want me to pay for it? Because if I take it out of my operations funds, right, then I've got to let people go. There's no other way around it.
Right, but I mean, we're taking money out of contingency to help offset some raises or
And how many
increase.
people do you have to let go because of that?
What you're saying that you can't fill all your positions now because your pay is not adequate. And so we've raised your pay and we've
Right.
had to take that money out of the contingency.
Well, it's because of, and it's also because of the surrounding, the amount of money that other people are paying now.
Well, I get that. I mean, those are issues, but if we didn't have the contingency, we sure as heck couldn't give them the raises.
And the $9 million that I have too, I just want to reiterate, that $9 million is to build out the facility below. We don't know how much money that's going to be. We want to do a study for that, haven't been able to do that.
Right.
So you're.
I don't disagree that there's lots of different things and lots of different variables. You know, that would be great if you could get that built out with cash that we had on hand. But I mean, we've accumulated cash because of the federal prisoner reimbursement.
I don't have a problem with that. So which ones do you want me to reduce the funding from? Do you want me to take it away from the jail, or do you want me to take it away from Patrol Division? Because that's what it comes down to, Chris. I understand what you're saying, I do. But the way the budget is set up right now, the 1.5 million is already spent. For me to pay the 300,000, I gotta let people go. So it's just that simple. So all you gotta do is say, John, we want you to pay for that, and you don't have a choice because you all control the budget, right? And as soon as you do, then I'm gonna have to let 5 to 6 people go.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue with you because
There's nothing to argue, Chris, that's fact.
it's not fact.
Then how do I pay for the 300,000?
Take it out of contingency.
Okay, so you want to take contingency money now and pay for pretrial release? That's outstanding, because I need 2 more people to work the road, so we can take it out of contingency.
So,
I need
okay.
more pay raises for my guys, we can take it out of contingency.
Well, that's what we're doing now, and that's what we've done
No,
this
we're not.
this year.
We're not paying this out of contingency.
We haven't given employees raises and done that out of contingency?
No,
Where'd the money come from?
my budget, when I look at it, I go down on what I have revenue coming in.
So you did it out of
and that's all I
vacancies.
spent.
You did it out of vacancies that were left in the department.
I do it out of the revenue money that I have coming in, and that gives me a bottom line, and then that's all I spend. I don't go any further than that. Anything that I have that's cash forward goes down into the contingency, hence why my contingency gets bigger, because I have vacant positions, and the money keeps going down into there. I have whatever revenue lines I have, that's what I base my budget on.
I get that, but we've increased the rate of pay for your patrol, right?
Right.
This year, yeah. I mean, so you either had money left over in salaries that are positions that you didn't fill, that you were able to give those raises, or you would.
No, I don't do that. I can't do that. I budget every year for a full amount.
Well, I get that, but how did we give raises this year to patrol deputies without taking it out of contingency or using existing money in your budget that you had vacancies?
I think this year is because I moved the 705 money, right? That's a lot of it. So I have 3 line items that I have that shows expenditures, but I don't have revenue lines coming in for them. So for my, not cash forward, but for my biometrics and for the, what's it called? The, not confiscated, but the funds that I get from.
Inmate security biometrics.
Yeah. So those items, I can't put a budget revenue line on them. So every time I did a budget, it would show automatically I would have a negative that amount of money on there. I don't have to do that this year because I moved it down to 705. So it does give me a little bit of money.
Well, some of the raises too during the year is the savings from having open positions, but every year when he starts the budget, what we're looking at right now for next year, he's only spending the revenue in to pay everything out, other than your capital.
Right, other than capital. And I don't mind paying capital expenses out of contingency funds, but I don't think we want to start paying salaries out of contingency, because I'm gonna run out of money quick, especially whenever it comes out that I owe $7 million, or I'm gonna have to pay $7 million to build out that facility below. And I don't want to come back to the citizens of Cole County and say, hey, I had the money, but I blew it. I need more money now. We're gonna have to get another tax going.
And part of the reason for the growth in our carry forwards is we've been very conservative with what we spend that savings on from year to year, because it's not a guaranteed saving every year. So this year, if we come in $1 million ahead of where we thought we were going to be, we don't go and spend that $1 million on salaries that continue to grow and go on forever. We try to pick those one-time costs or things that we can do with that savings, because it's not a guaranteed savings every year.
And we can talk some more, and I'll talk with you about how I should pay for the pretrial release program. I'm good with that. But the fact of the matter is, the facts that you have to understand is the 1.4, I've got revenue in there. The 1.4 that I have in there is spent. I can't spend it twice. If you say I got to pay the $300,000 of my operational funds, then I got to let people go. If you're going to say that we can start paying salaries out of contingency funds, well, that brings up a whole new issue. Because I need 2 more road deputies, and I need a road sergeant, or a desk sergeant. That's all in my strategic plan. Those are things that I have that I look forward to in the next 8 years. But if I spend contingency money for salaries, then so does every other entity in Cole County should be able to do the same thing. And I do pay for stuff for pretrial release, by the way. Last year, he wanted that program for $28,000. Still haven't seen that thing, so I don't know what happened with that. But every time they need drug tests, I pay it. But the $28,000 for that, whatever that program is still in my budget.
We weren't talking about your budget, though. We were talking about pretrial release, and then it came up.
Well, whenever,
Yeah.
I think it was just a discussion, John. I wasn't sitting there saying, we're coming in after your money, because we gotta take a look at it, all of it.
and I get that, but you are talking about my budget whenever you start saying that I should have to pay for the $300,000. Then I should be part of the
I think
conversation.
we were throwing it out there as, you know, if this is something that's benefiting the law enforcement, should that come from yours or not? Do you want it or not? If it comes from yours, should you have control over it or not? So it was just some discussion.
The ones that have control over it is the one who should control it, and that's the courts. The courts have to control that. They're the only one that should control that.
I'm pretty sure they're not gonna give us any money from the state to help pay for it. That's-
No, they won't. But that's who controls that program.
I really think they should give us some money, and that was my
Yeah.
point before you got up here.
Well, I
You probably couldn't hear because you was breathing so hard from
Well, I
running.
think that they need to pay me for, if they would pay me for what they owe me right now, this would be a moot point.
That
But
would
they're
have
not
to.
paying me.
But I see it as they're one of them that's benefiting from the program too, so I really think they should have some money coming to us for it,
I do too.
so.
They're never gonna pay for that.
So when do we do your
And every
budget?
time, and every
Because
time.
they
we-
don't have to, the county's already.
Well, and every time we turn around,
Tomorrow?
they're pushing more on me. So
Okay.
I'm doing all the jail billing now, because the courts don't have to do that now, so I had to hire people for that. So some of this growth that we're talking about is not because I wanted to, it's because it was mandated on me.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pay out of contingency. I think that's a bad idea to pay out of contingency.
No.
And I don't have it in operations, but whenever my half-cent sales tax runs out, if you want to move that over and we work out a percentage of, what'd I say, 80%, I take 80%, what was that? 66 or 80, 80% I think it was. I think it was 80% of that, I'm good with that. I don't have a problem with it. If we build out the bottom facility and I'm able to put 20 more federal prisoners down there, then that's just more, and if we work it that way, right, the more federal prisoners I bring in, the more money, percentage-wise, it comes to you. I'm good with that.
But you can't argue that's not a discussion that we need to have, though.
I do think it's not a I don't think it's a discussion you should have, because it's a mute discussion. It's that there's nothing we can do about it.
I'm sitting on the outside looking at it, I mean, it looks like.
But the three of you know that I don't have the money to pay for this. You know this. You see
I
my
haven't
budget.
looked at your budget to see if you do have the money. That's why I'm not talking about your.
Jeff,
budget.
I can't.
We were just talking about the pretrial release thing, so it wasn't a decision we were making to.
I understand, but every year we talk about this, and every year I tell the same thing. I can't pay it out of my
We're
operations
just trying to
budget.
trip you up one of these years. That's just,
Killed
we're
me.
just talking about it. It's, whether you don't think it's something that needs to be discussed, I think it is a valid discussion to have. And honestly, I think the state should be sending out some money for it. That's a drop in a bucket to them.
States
That's
aren't
helping
gonna, they're not paying what they owe now.
No.
They're not paying what they owe now.
No, they throw out so many million and it's first come,
Well, they're not even doing that now.
no.
They're not even doing that now.
This is a strange year.
But DOC has increased their budget. But they still couldn't find the money to give to the sheriffs. And I don't even know right now how much are they owe me right now, do you remember? 100 and, no, it doesn't matter.
I don't know, sorry.
But-
Usually in our Mac magazine too, about once a year they'll have what they owe everybody.
We were behind, but I think she got up through June, possibly. But I don't know what the dollar number is.
Okay.
Can we do one more before we leave?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Coroner, page 75.
Can we get that at law enforcement budget?
I can go
Put
get it
your
right.
gun away. Put
I'm
your gun
ready.
away.
I'm ready right
Taser,
now. I go get it.
taser, he wants to be tased.
I can do it right now. I'm ready. I
He
just
wants to
finished
be
my
tased.
commission letter that I'm getting emailed to you.
8:30 tomorrow morning.
75?
Oh, Lord.
Page
See you, Sheriff.
76.
$76.
So this is the fee that we pay to our, not really coroner, he's a medical examiner. And then the autopsies and his bond. The autopsies is kind of a guess, it just depends on how many we have to do during the year.
Are these the ones we send to Columbia?
Yeah.
Yeah, they raise their prices, didn't they?
And I have not changed his fee in I don't know how long. He also hasn't sent anything to me to request it to be changed, so just something to keep in mind, that fee is held there for many years.
We can't put the coroner into the sheriff. That's the only one that can arrest him.
That's true.
Is that why John was willing to take that one on?
There's three other ones that we didn't really touch on with people that were here. So tax maintenance fund is the discretionary fund of the collector. It's the VEC collects and he gets to spend. And then county treasurer had the school fund and the tax overplus fund. Again, those are pretty much set by statute as far as what happens in there. We get fees from the courts and financial institution tax for the schools. And then every year when we sell the property from the collector that are 3 years overdue, it goes into the tax overplus. And once it's been in there for a year, it gets distributed out to the schools through the school fund. And then financial institution tax is the other one, and it's an in and out account. So everything that comes into that account gets paid back out to the taxing jurisdiction. I think that's all the little fun, other than the people that are coming tomorrow to talk about their budget.
So we got something at 2
2.
and closed session, and then 3:30 is the CARES.
Yeah, which isn't that long.
So when's the law enforcement sales tax ends at, was it 20 years? Or, I mean, it goes down to the 8%?
It was, a set 20 years or when we pay off the debt. And we make our final payment in December of 2022.
Okay.
So it, we need to double check and verify, but I'm assuming in January of 2023, it would be reduced to the 3/8.
Oh, 3/8, not just that.
No.
It's half to 3/8, it goes down to 8.
And John's got some ideas too, so.
So then how much of that was, the 9 million was for that interstitial?
I don't know that we've ever set aside a certain amount, and we don't really have an estimated cost. I think John's been trying to see if he could get Architects Alliance to come in and
Yeah, I didn't.
do a study and tell him what that cost would be. I don't think I've seen a cost.
Okay.
That's all I got as far as budget for today.
Okay.
Come back at 2 and.
Yeah,
Let me get her, or do we need her to?
yeah, we
Yeah,
need
'cause
to,
we'll shut
we'll
it down.
recess until 2.
Did you guys see the email from Judge Beadham? We probably need to talk about that this afternoon when we do CARES.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn the lights on. Turn the lights on, just fair warning.
When did you start doing that?
Today.
How come Lynn retired over next door?
She was planning.
Yeah, she'd been,
Oh, was
yeah,
she?
She was planning to leave at the beginning of the year, but decided to stay through the election.
get through the election, yeah.
So-
I wanted to do something for her, but
Yeah.
she was kind of our mascot. What? What?
It does look like a diaper. With a poo-poo in it. A little turd there, I don't even notice.
I was gonna give you one to wear too, but the hell with you then. I can't find a Dallas
right.
cowboy mask. They only do
I'll bring my
professional.
camouflage face mask in and wear when we're hunting. Actually, this time of year it's gonna be kinda warm, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to leave it up or shut it down?
You can leave it up, get it dry, and then I'll have her start.
Shut it down.
So Harry, you gonna be back here? Are you gonna be back this afternoon?
Okay.
And I think Matt wanted you in on that closed session. Did someone talk to you about that?
Done? We're gonna
Yes.
Right.
motions done?
Okay.
I'm fine with that, so. I guess it's gonna be around 2. I don't know. Maybe one of those you're in and maybe one you're not. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
There's two different ones, so I wasn't sure.
So
which was
I
which.
move we stand in recess till 2 p.m.
2, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.